2 weeks from now, your little brother Asher is marrying my girlfriend. You're really just going to sit back and watch that happen?" In the soft glow of a romantic, candlelit restaurant, Noah sat in a tailored black suit, his gaze fixed on the woman across from him, cool, composed, and as untouchable as snowfall on marble. Sloane didn't flinch. Her features were refined, almost regal, and her posture upright like a portrait. Her voice was measured, calm. "And what exactly do you expect me to do about it?" Noah let out a dry laugh, the corner of his mouth tugging upward. "Well, since Asher stole my girlfriend, maybe you should make it up to me by marrying me instead. We could have our wedding the same day as theirs. Poetic, don't you think?" Sloane's lashes lifted just enough for her to meet his eyes. Then, without a word, she stood up gracefully and turned to leave. The light in Noah's eyes dimmed. He wasn't surprised. Sloane had a reputation, ice queen of their social circle, unbothered by flirtation, untouched by desire. He'd expected her to find the proposal absurd. He'd braced himself for her rejection. But then, her voice, clear and cool, floated back to him mid-stride. "Fine. I'll marry you that day." And with that, she vanished into the night. Noah froze. For a moment, he wasn't sure he'd heard her right. His heart started racing, thundering in his chest. Did she really just say yes? That easily? He sat there, stunned, for what felt like forever before finally collecting himself and rising from his seat, ready to leave. But just then, the door swung open with a quiet chime, and his heart dropped. Scarlett. His girlfriend. She walked in, arm in arm with Asher, radiant and smiling. When her eyes met Noah's, her expression softened like she was seeing an old friend, not a man she'd just betrayed. Asher guided her to a reserved table and gallantly pulled out her chair. They ordered a few dishes. Scarlett beamed at Asher, her eyes full of warmth. "All your favorites," she said sweetly. "Let me know if you want anything else." When the food arrived, she poured him a glass of wine, then leaned in to gently dab the corner of his mouth with a napkin, familiar, practiced, intimate. Like she'd done it 1,000 times. But today was her 7th anniversary with Noah. A message from her still glowed on his phone screen. "Swamped with work. Lots of overtime. Don't wait up." Noah sat just a few tables away, watching in silence. A faint smile played on his lips, though it didn't reach his eyes. They couldn't even remember the last time they'd finished a meal together, just the two of them. And now, not even their anniversary could pull her away from this. He remembered when Scarlett used to treasure every occasion between them, every little moment. Back then, she always had time. Always had something to say. Always planned surprises he never saw coming. And now, she belonged to someone else, right before his eyes. But now, she seemed to have forgotten it was her who fell for him at first sight. She was the one who confessed 99 times, chasing him like her life depended on it. She once risked her neck in an illegal street race, just to win a necklace he'd casually admired. She had poured everything into him, love that burned so fiercely, it cracked the ice around his heart. And he had finally let her in. They spent 7 years together. 7 years where she treated him like he was the center of the universe. He used to believe they'd stay in that perfect love bubble forever. Until Asher showed up. Her best friend's younger brother. 20 years old, all fire and chaos, just like Noah had once been. She spoiled Asher. Protected him. Defended him with the kind of blind devotion she once reserved for Noah. She'd comb through the entire city just to get Asher his favorite cake. She'd sit by his hospital bed all night if he so much as had a fever. She'd buy him a whole estate, just because he offhandedly mentioned liking it. And then yesterday, she lost a bet while playing a game. The punishment? Marry the guy you message with most on Instagram. That guy was Asher. And without missing a beat, she said yes, laughing like it meant nothing. Someone at the party couldn't bear to watch it unfold and quietly tipped off Noah. He hadn't believed it, couldn't, so he went looking for her, needing to hear the truth. But before he could step into the room, he heard everything from just outside the door. "You're seriously going to marry Asher?" a friend asked. "Since when do you actually follow through with dares? Don't tell me you like him now." Everyone inside fell silent, waiting for her answer. Scarlett said nothing. And that silence said everything. Gasps and chatter erupted instantly. "No way, you do like him? What about Noah? You used to love him like crazy." After a long pause, her voice came, low, thick with alcohol, soft as a sigh. "It's been 7 years. Even the most handsome man, you get tired of him eventually." A bitter laugh followed, and then her words cut deeper than anything Noah had imagined. "This fake wedding, it's just a dream I'm letting myself have. When I wake up, I'll go back to Noah, be his perfect girlfriend again, loyal, loving, just like always." That night, Noah walked home in the rain. By morning, his tears had dried. He showered, got dressed, and headed straight to the one person he never thought he'd turn to. Sloane. Asher's sister. If Scarlett was going to hide a secret wedding with her best friend's brother, then so would he. He would marry her best friend. Scarlett. Happy 7-year anniversary. Your gift? I'll make your dream come true, for real this time. After leaving the restaurant, Noah went home. The first thing he did was gather every trace of their 7 years together. Tens of thousands of photos. Matching outfits, more than he could count. And then there were the journals, Scarlett's old love diaries. The pages were yellowed with time but still neatly kept, as if untouched by dust or decay. From the very first day she fell for him, she had been writing. Every emotion, every flutter of her heart, every stolen glance, it was all there, inked into pages meant only for him. At first, she wrote every day. Then, once a week. Then, once a month. Eventually, entire seasons would go by before she picked up the pen. And now? It had been a full year since her last entry. She'd probably forgotten the diary even existed. Forgotten she used to write about him. Forgotten how deeply, desperately she had once loved him. Noah let out a quiet, bitter laugh. He wiped the last tear from the corner of his eye, sealed everything into a cardboard box, photos, clothes, old memories, and walked out the door. Without a flicker of hesitation, he dropped the box into the trash. From this moment on, he wasn't just throwing away 7 years of his life. He was throwing away her. He was just about to head back inside when he came face to face with her. Scarlett. She must have just finished dinner with Asher. Her expression was light, her mood cheerful. A small smile played on her lips as she glanced casually toward the trash can. "What did you just toss out?" Noah met her gaze, his tone flat. "Garbage." She didn't think much of it. Instead, she stepped closer and wrapped her arms around him. "It's freezing out. Why aren't you wearing more?" Before he could react, she pulled off her coat and draped it over his shoulders. He moved to shrug it off, but his hand brushed against something in the pocket. A few wrapped candies. Strawberry. He blinked, frozen in place for a beat too long. Scarlett chuckled softly, a little exasperated. "Asher loves them. I always keep a few on me. He's got a sweet tooth, just like you used to." As she spoke, she reached into the coat pocket and plucked out the strawberry candies, slipping them into her own. Of course. He used to have a sweet tooth too. Back then, she always carried snacks in her bag, tucked little treats in her coat, especially lemon drops. His favorite. Her friends used to tease her about it, but she'd just laugh and say proudly, "I've got a husband to spoil." "Do you?" When did it change? When did lemon drops become strawberry? Noah's lips curved faintly, but not into a smile. He said nothing, just turned away and started walking home in silence. The next morning, Noah sat across from Scarlett at breakfast. The sunlight was soft, the air unusually quiet. Their housekeeper brought in a fresh pot of coffee, humming lightly as she set it down. With a kind smile, she turned toward them. "Miss Monroe, did you and Mr. Whitmore have a nice anniversary yesterday?" At that, Scarlett froze. The smile slipped from her face as realization dawned, too late to catch it with grace. Yesterday had been their anniversary. A flicker of guilt raced through her expression. She looked at Noah, eyes wide with remorse. "I'm so sorry. Work was insane, I completely forgot." Noah didn't call her out. He didn't mention where she'd really been. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. "It's fine." But that only made her feel worse. Without another word, she got up and grabbed her phone. "Cancel all my appointments today," she told her assistant sharply. Then, after a pause, she added something in a softer tone. When she hung up, she returned to Noah's side with an earnest smile. "Let's make up for yesterday. You've always wanted to see the meteor shower, right? I'll take you." He didn't have time to respond. She'd already made all the arrangements. The drive up the mountain was long, but breathtaking. Twinkling string lights lined the entire road like fallen stars scattered across the hillside. They cast a soft, golden glow, winding all the way up to the summit. When they reached the top, Noah found himself staring at a dream. Thousands of fresh flowers, flown in from who knows where, blanketed the clearing. At the center stood a long dining table set for two, flickering candlelight dancing across polished silverware and carefully plated dishes. The breeze fluttered the white tablecloth. The whole scene shimmered with effort and beauty. It was perfect. Scarlett had clearly gone to great lengths. But Noah didn't smile. And she didn't notice. She'd been busy the whole drive, head down, fingers dancing across her phone. Typing. Smiling. He glanced over once. She caught him looking and tilted her screen away, brushing it off with a soft murmur. "Just work. Don't be mad, okay?" But Noah had sharp eyes. He'd seen the notification banner flash across her screen, Asher's name. His photo. A grinning selfie. She was still texting him. As the meteor shower drew closer, Scarlett was fussing with the tent. Her phone buzzed over and over again where she'd dropped it nearby. Noah couldn't take the sound anymore. He picked it up instinctively, swiped up to unlock. He entered her passcode, his birthday. Incorrect password. Please try again. The chill of the screen mirrored the cold sinking into his chest. His fingers paused, trembling slightly. That passcode had been the same for 7 years. 7 years. And now, she had changed it. He stared at the screen. Then, almost mechanically, he typed in a new date. Asher's birthday. The phone unlocked instantly. As soon as the screen lit up, it opened directly to her chat with Asher. All afternoon, despite being right beside Noah, she hadn't stopped messaging him. Asher had sent her a song. Scarlett replied instantly, with a doting smiley, listening now. He shared a photo of a stray kitten on the sidewalk. She responded sweetly, so well behaved. Just like you, adorable. He sent a grinning selfie from a coffee shop. Found the best coffee ever. Look. She replied with a string of playful emojis. You little coffee addict. What kind was it? I'll add it to my notes so I can get it for you next time. Noah paused. He tapped open her notes app. There used to be only one file. A single document that carefully listed all his preferences, foods, music, colors, scents. Everything she had once cherished about him. But now there were two. The second note was entirely about Asher. Every detail. Every preference. Every craving. His grip on the phone tightened. Right then, another message popped up from Asher. "I miss you so much." Just then, Scarlett began walking back toward him. Noah turned off the phone and handed it to her without flinching. "Your phone kept going off." Scarlett blinked, studying his expression. He was calm, too calm. No trace of confrontation in his eyes. She hesitated, then took the phone from his hand. A glance at the screen made her heart skip, Asher's "I miss you" still glowing like a wound. She quickly locked it. But it was too late. She knew what he'd seen. Suddenly, the night sky lit up. Streaks of silver tore across the darkness. The meteor shower had arrived. For a brief second, Noah tilted his head back and took it in. It was stunning. Silent. Eternal. He closed his eyes and pressed his palms together, like a child making a wish. But he had no wish. Only a gamble. He wanted to believe, for just a few seconds, that she was wishing beside him. That maybe, just maybe, she was here in heart, not just in body. So he counted down in his head. 10, 9, 8. 3, 2, 1. He opened his eyes. She was gone. The spot next to him was empty. A vibration buzzed against the table, his phone, not hers this time. A message lit up the screen. "Sorry, something urgent came up. I had to leave. Hope you don't mind watching without me. Next time, I'll make it up to you." Noah stared at the message. Then, slowly, he smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind that starts as a laugh and ends with tears. After a long pause, he typed his reply. "I'm good on my own. You don't need to come next time. Not this time. Not next time. Not ever again. Scarlett Monroe, your part in my life's script has officially wrapped." The meteors faded from the sky, one by one. And when the show ended, Noah descended the mountain, alone. Scarlett had driven off without him. It was late, and they were miles from town. No cars, no signals, no hope of a ride. So Noah walked. He didn't know how long he'd been walking when he finally reached the house. But by the time he stepped inside, his feet were wrecked, raw, bleeding, torn open from blisters rubbed through to flesh. The soles of his socks were soaked red. He didn't flinch. Just peeled off his shoes, grabbed a bottle of rubbing alcohol, and began to clean the wounds in silence. The sting was sharp. He didn't even blink. He was just applying the ointment when the front door creaked open. Scarlett. She came in with a glow, light on her feet, her smile warm, eyes sparkling from whatever had just happened. She radiated something soft, something happy. Until she saw his feet. Her whole body tensed. The color drained from her face. "Oh my God, what happened?" she breathed, voice tight, eyes wide with panic. "Noah, what did you do to yourself?" He didn't lie. "I walked home." Simple. Factual. She inhaled sharply, guilt crashing over her like a wave. "I'm so sorry," she said, rushing to his side. "It's my fault. I had something really important to handle. I didn't mean to leave you like that, I swear. I should have sent the driver, I didn't think." She dropped to her knees, gently lifting his feet into her lap, and began tending to his injuries. Her touch was careful, almost reverent. Her hands trembled slightly. As he watched her head bowed over his feet, dark hair falling around her face like a curtain, one thought echoed in his mind. Going to see Asher, that was the important thing. And suddenly, he remembered something. Years ago. Chicago. A brutal winter. He'd been selected for an elite computer science training, his brilliance had isolated him. The others saw him as a threat. The cold didn't help. Neither did the loneliness. That day, the snow was relentless. Wind howled through the cracks of his cheap apartment. He'd called Scarlett, just to hear her voice. Tried to sound normal. But she'd noticed. "Noah," she said gently. "What's wrong?" He'd sniffled and deflected. "Nothing. I just miss you." She didn't respond. The next morning, he opened the door to find her standing there. "Noah." He blinked, stunned, before rushing down the steps. "What are you doing here?" She just smiled, threw her arms around him, and whispered, "My boyfriend missed me. So of course I came." That was when he noticed the dark circles under her eyes. The snowflakes still clinging to her lashes and hair. His heart clenched. "How did you even get here?" She lifted her brow, tone casual. "Storm shut down the roads. Flights were cancelled. Trains were sold out. So I caught a midnight bus. Sat upright the whole ride. Took forever, but I made it." In that moment, he'd cried like a child. And she just wrapped him in her arms, whispering against his ear. "Shoo. As long as you say you miss me, even if it's through fire or flood, I'll come to you. Always." But now he knew the truth. Love doesn't die. It just moves. Scarlett's love was still passionate, still full of warmth and sacrifice. It just wasn't his anymore. It belonged to Asher. And that hurt more than anything. Noah took a slow, steady breath and pulled his leg from her lap. "It's late. Let's get some sleep." Scarlett paused, caught off guard. Then, with a gentle expression, she leaned in to help him lie down. Her warm lips moved toward his cheek, but he instinctively turned away, subtly but unmistakably. He pushed her back, his voice low. "Not tonight." She froze for a second, then nodded and said nothing, assuming it was because of his injury. She lay beside him and quietly wrapped her arms around him, pulling him close. For a while, there was only silence, until her voice broke it, low and velvety against his ear. "Tomorrow's Asher's birthday. He invited us to the party." Noah didn't respond. She felt the hesitation in his stillness and tried to coax him with a softer tone. "Asher really likes you. I know you're not into parties unless you're working or touring, but just this once, for him." The bedside lamp clicked off. He closed his eyes. He knew saying no wouldn't matter. The next morning, just as Noah was fastening his cufflinks, a housekeeper appeared at the door with a velvet box in hand, smiling warmly. "Mr. Whitmore," she said, "Miss Monroe bought this weeks ago. She thought it'd be perfect for your suit today." Noah opened the box. Inside sat a vintage pocket watch, classic, gleaming, exquisite. He recognized it instantly. True Heart. It had just been auctioned off by Pendleton last month. The press had gone wild about it, a one-of-a-kind antique pocket watch that symbolized eternal devotion. The final bid? $20 million, placed by an anonymous buyer. Turns out the mystery buyer was Scarlett. But now, he wasn't even sure if it was meant for him. Without a word, he closed the box and handed it back to the housekeeper. "Put it away." Asher's birthday party was extravagant, glistening chandeliers, champagne towers, designer gowns and custom suits everywhere he turned. The moment Noah arrived, Asher practically flew across the room to greet him, beaming like a kid who just won the lottery. He grabbed Noah's arm in an eager hug. "I didn't think you'd come. I'm so glad you did. I love your work, you know that. That graduation performance you choreographed? Our professors still show it in class." He leaned in with a bashful grin and glanced playfully at Scarlett, cheeks turning pink. And I hope someday I find a girlfriend as amazing as Scarlett. Noah slid his arm out of Asher's grasp with quiet restraint, then smiled, cold and unreadable. Well, I can't speak to the first wish, he said, but the second one? That one's easy. You'll get it. Scarlett's smile faltered. She turned to him, eyes narrowing ever so slightly. What's that supposed to mean? Noah's expression didn't shift. He looked right at her, voice light but laced with something sharper. You've got lots of best friends, don't you? All just as great as you. Why not introduce one to Asher? I'm sure he'll find the perfect match in no time. Asher bit his lip, embarrassed, but laughed along. Sounds good to me. Thanks in advance, Scarlett. Her jaw tightened. Color drained from her face. She shot Noah a look that could cut glass. You're too young. No dating. Jealousy flared in her voice before she could stop it. Noah saw it. And smiled, but said nothing more. After that, Scarlett poured all of her attention into Asher. She didn't notice the way Noah drifted from room to room in silence. Didn't notice how often he checked the time, or how empty his glass stayed. She didn't even see the moment he slipped out onto the balcony, alone. She was too busy. Laughing. Leaning close. Adjusting Asher's collar. Pouring his champagne. Just like she used to do. For Noah. Asher had barely raised a glass of wine to his lips when Scarlett reached out and stopped him. No drinking. You know your limits. A moment later, he laughed with a woman who'd leaned a little too close. Scarlett immediately pulled him away with quiet force. You have no idea what she's after, she murmured near his ear. Don't lean in. And stay within 3 feet of me. Got it? Asher sighed, exasperated. You won't let me drink, won't let me talk to anyone. Fine. I'll just sit here and eat ice cream. That okay with you, Miss Commander-in-Chief? He tugged at the sleeve of her dress, his voice playfully whiny. Pretty please. No, she replied flatly. But beneath the edge in her voice, something softer flickered in her eyes. You always get stomachaches when you eat cold stuff. Did you forget? Asher blinked, stunned. How do you even remember that? Scarlett smiled faintly and pinched his cheek. If you care about someone, you just remember. Across the room, Noah sipped his drink slowly. He hadn't moved from his spot by the column, watching, unnoticed, like a ghost in his own life. He gave a bitter chuckle under his breath and twirled the wine in his glass. Even in a crowd, he stood apart. He was striking, elegant, sharp-edged, the kind of presence that didn't need to speak to command attention. His silence was part of the allure. Like a rose in full bloom that dared you to reach for it. It didn't take long for people to notice. Women began whispering behind champagne flutes. Who is that? God, he's gorgeous. He's the hottest one here. Look at that bone structure. That jawline. That attitude. Does he have a date? Because if not, I'm going in. If you don't go, I will. Moments later, a small cluster of bold, glittering women made their way toward him, smiles wide, phones ready, already asking for his number. Not far off, one of Scarlett's closest friends elbowed her in the ribs with a teasing grin. Hey! You seeing what I'm seeing? Your man's about to get mobbed. If you don't step in soon, someone's gonna snatch him. Scarlett barely glanced up. Just one disinterested look Noah's way, and then her gaze drifted back to Asher. She smiled, casual and unconcerned. He won't go anywhere. Noah heard her. They weren't far apart. He laughed quietly to himself. He remembered, not too long ago, when her reaction would have been wildly different. Back then, every time they stepped out together, people would stop him, ask for his number, flirt openly. And every time, Scarlett would go feral, like she was guarding treasure. She once kicked a guy who dared to get too close. "Think you can touch what's mine?" she had hissed. "Try me." But now? Now all he got was, "He won't go anywhere." Was it that she didn't care anymore? Or did she simply believe he loved her so much, he wouldn't dare leave? Either way, he finally knew how replaceable he had become in her world. Noah turned away from the crowd of women with a cold, unreadable expression. He refused each flirtation without a word, stone-faced, unreachable. One by one, they dispersed. As the space cleared, something else caught his eye. Across the room, a girl had sidled up to Asher. She grinned and tugged on his hand, pouting in faux innocence. "Come on, just give me your number." Bang! Before she could finish the sentence, she was kicked a full 3 feet backward, so hard she stumbled, heels scraping loudly against the floor. The entire ballroom froze. Gasps rippled like electricity. All heads turned, including Noah's. Scarlett stood over the girl, her face dark, eyes blazing with fury. She yanked Asher firmly into her arms, holding him close as her gaze swept across the room like a blade. "If you think you can touch what's mine," she snapped, her voice like ice, "you'd better think again. Now get lost." No one moved. No one dared to move. Then, with her head held high, Scarlett took Asher's hand and walked him straight out of the ballroom, under the full weight of everyone's stunned, scandalized stares. The whispers began almost immediately. People watched them go with widened eyes and muttered speculation. Noah said nothing. He kept his composure, his face calm, but something inside him tightened. He didn't want to be in that room anymore. He needed air. Space. Distance. He left the ballroom in silence. But just as he rounded a corner toward the restroom, he froze. There they were. Scarlett had Asher backed against a wall, her voice low and sharp as a blade. "Next time someone asks for your number, you say no. Got it?" Asher's lips curled into a teasing smile. "Why not?" Her eyes darkened. "Because I don't like it." He tilted his head playfully. "Why don't you like it?" They stared at each other. The tension between them thickened, wrapping around the air like smoke. And then, slowly, Scarlett pressed her forehead to the side of his neck, her breath shaky. "I just don't. And if you ever say yes to someone else, I don't know what I'll do." Asher finally smiled. Okay, he whispered. "I get it." She didn't answer. Just reached into her purse and pulled out a box. Inside was the antique pocket watch. True heart. She gently fastened it onto his wrist. Then, quietly, completely, she melted into his arms and held him like he was her world. Noah had watched the whole thing. He thought he'd run out of tears by now, thought his heart had already been hollowed out. But watching that, seeing her give his watch to Asher, it took the breath straight from his lungs. He turned around and walked away. Didn't stay for the kiss. Didn't need to. The party wound down. The chandeliers dimmed, the music softened, and guests began filing out. Scarlett and Asher reappeared only as the night ended. Outside, as they waited for their car, Scarlett suddenly looked over and asked casually, "By the way, it's your birthday, where's Sloane?" Asher blinked, caught off guard. Then shrugged, trying to sound unfazed. "I don't know. She's been busy lately." Scarlett frowned. "Too busy for your birthday? That's not like her." Sloane had always been elusive, disappearing for days at a time, but still, she'd never missed something like this. Scarlett, as her closest friend, couldn't help but take notice. Asher pouted, looking small beneath the golden street lamps. "You know I don't really have the right to question her," he muttered. I'm just her stepbrother. Scarlett softened. She reached out and ruffled his hair like he was still a boy. Don't be afraid of her. If anything ever happens, just come to me. Asher's face lit up. He nodded quickly, grinning. You're the only one who really spoils me anyway. Noah didn't say a word. Not while Scarlett teased Asher. Not while Asher pouted and she smiled. Not while they whispered and laughed and moved around each other like they were the only two people in the world. He just watched in silence. Only when they were finally done saying goodbye did he casually raise a hand to hail a cab. We've both been drinking, he said. Too late to call the driver. Let's just take a cab home. Scarlett didn't argue. She nodded and slid into the back seat. The ride was quiet. Noah, buzzed from the wine, leaned against the window and dozed off. Scarlett, meanwhile, stared down at her phone the entire ride, fingers tapping out messages, her lips curled in a faint, private smile. Her eyes softened with each reply. She never once looked up. When they reached the house, Scarlett got out first. Noah was about to follow when the driver, a woman, mid-40s, sharp-eyed, hesitated before speaking up. Sir, she said quietly. You might want to keep an eye on your girlfriend. I think she's... Noah cut her off with a tired smile. I know. She's in love with someone else. They're getting married soon. The driver's eyes widened, unsure what to say. Noah stepped out of the car, then added over his shoulder, but it's fine. I've got someone too. We're getting married on the same day. And with that, he walked toward the villa, leaving the stunned driver speechless. Halfway up the steps, he pulled out his phone and sent a message to Sloane. How's the wedding planning coming along? The reply came within seconds. Why? So eager to marry me already? Noah stopped cold. He stared at the screen, stunned. That sounded like flirting. From Sloane? He stood frozen for a long moment, fingers hovering over the keyboard, typing something, deleting it, typing again. He had no idea what to say. Until... Noah? Scarlett's voice broke the silence. She stood by the door, brows furrowed slightly. You coming in or what? He snapped out of it, hastily locked his phone, and followed her inside. Later, after a long shower, Noah crawled into bed. He lay under the covers, staring at his screen, still caught on that one message from Sloane. After a long pause, he finally typed. I just didn't want you to bail. Her reply came as a voice message. He tapped play. Her voice, warm, smooth, low and velvety, poured into the quiet room like a cello in a candlelit concert hall. Don't worry. I'll be there, right on time, to marry you. Noah blinked, lips parting slightly. His ears flushed hot. He pressed a palm over one ear, trying to suppress the heat rising to his cheeks. His thoughts were still reeling when the bathroom door opened and Scarlett emerged in a robe, hair damp, eyes sharp. You were chatting just now. With who? She thought she'd heard something, a woman's voice. She stood at the foot of the bed, waiting. Watching. Noah quickly locked his phone and slid it under his pillow. No one. His answer was too fast. Too defensive. And Scarlett knew it. Something twisted in her chest. She couldn't name it, but it was there. She climbed into bed beside him and leaned in close, lips brushing his skin. Reaching for something, anything, that still connected them. But again, Noah pushed her away. He pulled the blanket tighter around himself, turned his back to her, and said softly. Lately I've been sleeping badly. Why don't you take the guest room tonight? She froze. His tone wasn't cold. It was distant. That was worse. She sat there for a long time, staring at his back. Slowly, the truth began to sink in. Something had changed. And this time, it wasn't her holding the power anymore. Scarlett panicked. Without thinking, she wrapped her arms around Noah from behind, her cheek pressing lightly against his back. "Did I do something wrong?" she whispered. "Please, can we just talk? Don't shut me out like this." Her voice trembled, pleading. "I'm still just a woman, Noah. I have needs. Is it really so wrong for me to want you?" She tightened her grip around him. "I love you so much. And every time you turn me down, again and again, it feels like you're slowly killing me." Noah let out a dry, soundless laugh. Love? Is that what she called this? He was just about to speak when her phone rang sharply, slicing through the moment like a blade. Scarlett flinched. She frowned and started to hit decline, but paused when she saw the name on the screen. With a deep breath, she let go of Noah and stepped aside to take the call. A soft, fragile voice filtered through the receiver. "I had a nightmare. Can you come hold me for a while?" Scarlett's expression softened. She didn't hesitate. "Don't be scared. I'm on my way." She hung up, grabbed her coat, and turned quickly toward the door. "There's something urgent at work," she said briskly. "I have to go." "Work? At this hour?" Noah didn't ask. He didn't need to. He already knew. She didn't come home that night. Or the next. Or the one after that. Just a message. "There's a really important project I'm handling. I'll be back in a few days." Noah didn't respond. Didn't need to. He was done playing her game. On the fourth day, the doorbell rang. Noah opened it to find a sharply dressed man in a tailored suit. "Mr. Whitmore," the man said with a smile, "I'm Miss Harrington's senior assistant. She asked me to bring you to your tuxedo fitting. Are you free today?" Noah blinked in surprise. Then nodded. "I'm free." Sloane had already handled everything. By the time Noah arrived at the boutique, multiple suits had been laid out, each more elegant than the last. Clearly curated with precision. All he had to do was try them on. One by one, he stepped out in black, navy, charcoal, midnight blue, each piece fit as if tailored for him and him alone. As he admired the last one, a striking black gold tuxedo with a single floral boutonniere pinned to his lapel, he found himself hesitating. Which one was right? But before he could decide, he heard something. A voice. Familiar. Bright. Unmistakable. He turned. And there they were. Asher and Scarlett. They stepped into the boutique, hand in hand, laughing. Asher walked straight toward a display of white suits, his eyes lighting up. "What do you think of this one?" he asked Scarlett excitedly. "I'll wear it on the big day. I want to look perfect when I marry you." Scarlett smiled back at him, her voice warm. "Whatever you want." Asher practically beamed. He picked up the suit and turned to head into the fitting room, only to stop in his tracks. His eyes widened. "Noah?" Scarlett froze. She turned slowly, and there he was. Noah stood across the boutique, dressed in a jet-black tuxedo laced with gold, the flower at his chest catching the light. He looked like something carved from starlight and steel, elegant, cold, unforgettable. Scarlett's breath hitched. She couldn't look away. Scarlett stormed toward him, disbelief etched across her face. Her fingers clamped tightly around his wrist, knuckles white with tension. Her voice was sharp, demanding. "What are you doing here?" Her eyes flicked down to the tuxedo he was wearing, elegant, precise, clearly a groom's suit. Her eyes darkened. Noah calmly pulled his arm free, voice even and unbothered. "I could ask you the same thing. Weren't you swamped with a project?" Scarlett's expression faltered. "I finished early." So I came to help Asher pick out his suit. She straightened her shoulders, but something flickered in her eyes, doubt, guilt, panic. It all swirled just beneath the surface. Before she could press him further, Asher came over, eyes pink with emotion. He glanced at Noah, then looked up at Scarlett, voice soft. Do you think your fiancé came here because he really wants to marry you? Maybe we can forget the whole punishment thing. You know, the game. Before he could finish, Scarlett's face dropped. Her tone turned sharp. No. We're not calling it off. That was decided a long time ago. Her words were firm, final. But then she turned to Noah again, her tone suddenly tender, coaxing. I know you want to get married. And we've been together so long, we're basically there. All that's left is a piece of paper, right? I'll start planning soon, I promise. Just don't rush me, okay? Noah didn't answer right away. He was too busy biting back the laugh threatening to rise in his throat. Instead, he matched her tone with a perfectly empty smile. You're right. No rush. I only tried on the suit because I happened to pass by and thought it looked good. Nothing more. He reached up, unfastened the boutonniere, and gently placed it on a table. Well, now I've tried it. I'll get out of your way. You two carry on. Noah changed out of the tux and stepped outside the boutique. Sloane's senior assistant was already waiting for him. Mr. Whitmore, he asked eagerly, did any of the suits work for you? Noah gave a small nod. That last one. You can report back. I'll make my own way home. As the car pulled away from the curb, Noah caught a final glimpse of Scarlett and Asher stepping out of the boutique behind him. Scarlett narrowed her eyes, her gaze locking onto the assistant Noah had just spoken with. She quickened her pace, catching up beside him. Who were you talking to just now? Noah didn't flinch. Someone asking for directions. Scarlett frowned. That man looked so familiar. Wasn't he Sloane's assistant? She opened her mouth to ask again, but before she could press the issue, Asher stepped between them with his usual sunshine smile. Hey! Did you see the cake samples they brought in for the tasting later? You have to try the pistachio one, it's insane. His cheerful interruption sliced clean through the rising tension. Scarlett blinked, lips parting slightly, but then smiled and turned toward Asher, letting the question drop. Still, something in her eyes lingered. A shadow. A knot that wouldn't quite loosen. As a surprise, Asher announced, beaming, Scarlett bought me a yacht. We're throwing a party on it today, why don't you come with us? A yacht? Noah glanced at Scarlett. Sure enough, her smile faltered just slightly, guilt flickering behind her polished expression. You two go have fun, Noah said coolly, lips curving into a faint, unreadable smile. I'll pass. He was just turning to leave when Asher grabbed his arm, eyes pleading. Come on. You're always cooped up at home. A little ocean air will do you good, just one afternoon, okay? He wouldn't take no for an answer. Before Noah could resist, Asher was already tugging him toward the car. The sea breeze hit as soon as they stepped aboard. Warm and wet, with the sharp tang of salt clinging to the wind. The yacht was enormous, sleek and modern, its deck bustling with guests and awash in champagne and sun. As soon as Asher appeared, people swarmed around him. Scarlett Monroe bought this entire yacht for you, someone gushed. Named it after you? I'm actually gonna die of jealousy. I mean, come on, another added. She's never treated anyone this well. You must be the one, right? She totally likes you, someone chimed in. I'm calling it now, you two are perfect together. It's obvious. Scarlett's face darkened in an instant. Her voice cut through the chatter, sharp and icy. Watch what you say. I have a boyfriend. She turned and reached for Noah's hand, gripping it tightly. Don't mind them, she said, her voice softer now. They're just messing around. Noah didn't reply, but he noticed the flicker in Asher's eyes, how the smile on his face cracked for a second before it stitched itself back together. Yeah, Asher echoed, forcing a light laugh. Scarlett and Sloane are best friends. That's all. She's just being nice because of her. The mood shifted. The crowd quickly offered awkward apologies, and the tension dissipated into party games and music. Noah tried to stay out of it, but Asher looped an arm around him and dragged him into the circle. And, unluckily, Noah lost the first round. Someone handed him a card. He flipped it over. Tell a secret. He sat still for a moment, fingers resting lightly on the card. The deck gently rocked beneath his feet, but his voice was steady when he finally spoke. Something big is going to happen in 5 days. Everyone leaned in, instantly hooked. What kind of big? He looked up, a hint of amusement behind his eyes. That's the second question. The others laughed, nudging each other, begging for more. But Noah said nothing else. He sat back, the secret hanging in the salty air like a storm cloud on the horizon. Scarlett's expression shifted. She had barely smiled since Noah made his cryptic remark. Throughout the games, she kept glancing at him, again and again, her lips parting as if to speak, then falling silent each time. At last, she reached for his hand. Noah, her voice was low, careful. Did you find something out? He met her gaze without blinking. Find out what? She paused, searching his face for a flicker, anything. But Noah's expression remained unreadable. After a long silence, she let go of his hand and said nothing more. But her mind clearly wasn't with the party anymore. She lost the next round. When it came time to draw her punishment card, the group held their breath, eager, gleeful, expectant. She flipped it. Kiss the person to your left. She stiffened. Her left was Asher. Scarlett quickly reached for a drink. I'll take a shot instead. But the crowd didn't let her off that easy. What? No way. Miss Monroe, that's cheating. Come on, just one kiss. The chants grew louder, the voices gleeful, unrelenting. Kiss. 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 Just as the pressure peaked, Noah rose to his feet. The room fell still. Someone muttered nervously, "Hey, it's just a game, man." Yeah, someone else added, "Don't be such a downer. We're just playing around. It's harmless." Noah looked around slowly, taking in each face. Most of them were strangers. And almost all were here for one reason, to play wingman for Asher. He didn't respond. Didn't argue. He simply smiled. Then he walked around the table, and pushed Scarlett lightly from behind. She stumbled forward with a gasp, and before she could catch herself, she fell straight into Asher's arms, her lips brushing the edge of his mouth. Before she could pull away, Asher's hand slid around the back of her neck. With a bashful grin, he pulled her closer. And kissed her. Properly. 3 seconds passed before Scarlett shoved him away, breath hitched, eyes wide with disbelief. Noah. But he didn't flinch. He just gave a small, dry smile. They were right, he said coolly. It's just a game. You lost. That's the rule. Then, without another word, he turned away. I'll be outside, he added over his shoulder. Don't let me spoil the fun. And with that, he left the room. The night air hit him like clarity. He stood alone on the upper deck, wind tugging at his sleeves, the vast open sea stretching endlessly before him. A quiet horizon, cold and beautiful. He didn't know how long he'd been there when a voice broke the silence. You knew, didn't you? About the fake wedding. 5 days from now. Noah didn't move. Didn't look back. But the silence was answer enough. Asher's steps approached, slower now. Sharper. His voice was no longer playful. "I don't believe for a second that you didn't see how much Scarlett likes me," he said. "You're not stupid." He stepped beside Noah, voice tightening. "I get it. You're the better dancer. You're polished. Controlled. But when it comes to seduction? You lost the moment she looked at me." Noah's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. That only seemed to provoke Asher more. "If I were you," he continued, "I'd be humiliated. Losing her to some 20-something kid? Doesn't that sting, even a little?" Noah still didn't speak. But the air around him changed, slightly. Subtly. Like the tide pulling back before a wave breaks. Noah finally turned to look at him. His voice was quiet. Unshaken. "If Scarlett really loved you," he said, "why hasn't she broken up with me?" Asher's jaw tightened. "If you're so sure she wants me," Noah continued, "then have her come to me, look me in the eye and end it. The moment she does, I'll step aside. No questions. No drama." He paused, gaze steady. "But she won't. Because she wants you, but she's not done with me." That was all it was. Wanting more than one person. And not having the courage to choose. "You." The word caught in Asher's throat like a blade. Noah's calmness was like acid. It exposed everything, his own jealousy, his insecurity, the fragile truth he didn't want to face. Asher's eyes flicked toward the sea, glittering and endless under the lights of the yacht. "Fine," he hissed. "Let's find out who really matters to her." Without warning, he shoved Noah, hard. The world tilted. Noah hit the water with a sickening splash, the cold closing around him instantly like a coffin. Then Asher jumped in after him. The sound of two bodies crashing into the sea reached the deck in seconds. Scarlett came running. The moment she saw the water churning, panic crashed over her face. No hesitation. No second thoughts. She tore off her jacket and dove in. But her body cut through the water toward only one direction. Asher. She reached him, arms wrapping tightly around his chest, dragging him toward the dock with frantic strokes. "Asher." She hauled him out of the water, coughing, shivering, her hands all over him, checking his face, his pulse, his breath. "No, no, no, come on, wake up, Asher." She didn't even glance toward the waves. Didn't see the way Noah's head dipped again and again beneath the surface, swallowed by salt and silence. The ocean surged. Noah thrashed once, then again, coughing seawater, choking on it. His vision blurred, but not from salt. He saw Scarlett, his Scarlett, bent over Asher, cradling him like he was her world. And then Asher opened one eye. Just long enough to catch Noah's gaze. And smirk. Then his eyes fluttered closed again, faking unconsciousness. Scarlett gasped. "No, Asher." She began mouth to mouth. One breath. 2. 3. Noah floated just beyond them, chest heaving with what little air he could grasp, arms no longer strong enough to swim. His calls for help had quieted. His limbs had slowed. There was only the taste of salt in his lungs, sharp and burning, and the sound of Scarlett's voice, but never calling his name. And suddenly, memories began to bleed into the dark. A swimming pool. 10 years old. Slipping beneath the surface. He had nearly drowned once. The fear had stayed with him for years. Even bathtubs made him panic. Scarlett had been the one to help him through it. 3 months, every day, encouraging him. Holding his hand. Calming his breath. When he'd finally stood waist-deep in the ocean without trembling, she'd laughed and pulled him into her arms. "No more swimming," she'd said softly. If anything ever happens, I'll be here. I'll never let you get hurt again. But now? Now it was her hurting him. Every breath, every drop pulling him deeper, came from her. His body sank lower. His vision turned gray. And as the world slipped away, he closed his eyes. And let go. When Noah opened his eyes, he was met with white. A sterile ceiling. Fluorescent light. The faint, sharp scent of antiseptic. Not heaven. Just a hospital room. Beside him, Scarlett surged forward, eyes red, hands trembling as she pulled him into a tight embrace. "You're awake, thank God, you're awake." Her voice cracked with emotion. "If you didn't wake up, I swear, I would have followed you. I couldn't. I wouldn't have lived with myself." Tears spilled freely down her cheeks, falling onto the hospital sheets. It sounded real. The fear. The regret. But Noah's face remained still, his eyes vacant, unreadable. That hit her harder than any insult could have. She clutched his hand, trying to bridge the chasm growing between them. "Asher's just a kid," she whispered. "Fragile. He can't swim. The moment I saw him drowning, I thought of you. Thought of how you were back then, so scared of water. I panicked." Her voice shook. "I thought maybe you could hold on just a little longer. I didn't think it'd get that bad. I didn't mean to choose, I just reacted." She leaned closer, desperate. "Yell at me. Hit me if you want. Do whatever you need to. Just, don't shut me out like this." But Noah only looked at her with that same blank gaze. Then he spoke. Quiet. Flat. "If he's so fragile, shouldn't you be with him right now?" Scarlett flinched. "No, he's fine. He's being looked after. I'm here. I want to be here." Over the next few days, she proved it. She cancelled meetings. Shut off her phone. Didn't leave his side. She was there when he drank water. When he needed bandages changed. When he sat in silence and stared out the window for hours. But he never softened. Not once. On the day he was discharged, she was called away on urgent business. The moment she left, Noah got in a cab and gave the driver a quiet address. A tattoo studio. "Mr. Whitmore," the artist said gently, "are you sure about this? Laser removal is painful." Noah didn't answer right away. He simply unbuttoned the top of his shirt and traced a finger along the ink above his collarbone. "Scarlet." Etched into his skin in soft cursive. "Once beautiful. Now unbearable." "I'm sure," he said finally. The buzzing of the machine filled the room. The pain came fast, like heat and needles all at once, burning down to bone. But Noah didn't flinch. Didn't make a sound. He kept his jaw clenched, eyes dry. No scream, no tears. Only silence. Year 3 of their relationship. Noah had still been the golden boy, loved by all, pursued relentlessly. Scarlett had been possessive, jealous, wild with insecurity. One night, she'd wrapped herself around him and whispered, "I want everyone to know you're mine. The moment they see you." She begged him to get a tattoo, her name, right on his skin. He hated pain. He'd cried during the first few minutes. But she hadn't let him leave. Hadn't given in. Because to her, the ink was proof. Proof of something permanent. Something only she could claim. It had once meant love. Now it meant nothing. Noah closed his eyes as the machine hummed and seared across his skin. Scarlett was no longer carved into his flesh. And she no longer lived in his heart. Not now. Not ever again. Noah left the tattoo shop alone. The air outside was cool, but his skin still burned, raw from removal, raw from memory. That night, Scarlett returned home. She walked through the door with her usual smile and immediately threw her arms around him, pressing herself close. Then she pulled a folded paper from her bag and held it out. A plane ticket. Hawaii, she said with forced cheer. You've always wanted to go. You've been so down lately. I thought it'd lift your spirits. She hesitated, then added, I wanted to go with you, but something came up last minute. So it'll just be you this time. Think of it as a reset. A little peace before life gets busy again. Noah stared at the ticket. It should have felt like a kind gesture. It didn't. Because he remembered. A few nights ago. That hallway. Her voice, just around the corner. You all have to keep this from Noah. He can't know about the wedding. It's going to be a massive event, Scarlett. Someone's bound to let it slip. You're asking a lot. I'll send him out of town, she had snapped. By the time he's back, it'll all be over. I won't see Asher again. Everything will go back to normal. Noah and I will be just like before. Scarlett. He smiled softly now. Almost kindly. Sorry, but not this time. Things would never go back to before. Because on the day she held a fake wedding, he would be having a real one. Noah gave a small laugh, reached out, and took the ticket from her hand. Sure, he said. Sounds nice. Scarlett exhaled in relief, visibly relaxing. She smiled, truly smiled, and kissed his cheek before hurrying off to finish packing for him. The next morning, Scarlett walked Noah to the car, carrying his suitcase herself. Just before he stepped inside, she reached for him, hugging him tightly one last time. But as she pulled him close, her head rested against his shoulder, and she froze. Her eyes dropped to his collarbone. And there it was. Or rather, wasn't. The tattoo. Gone. Completely gone. Noah, her voice cracked. You removed the tattoo? She grabbed his shirt, fingers trembling, pulling the fabric aside. A button popped off, unnoticed. You told me you'd never get rid of it. Her voice rose, frantic now, panic bleeding through the words. That tattoo meant everything. You said. Noah gently pulled her hand off his shirt, calm as still water. It didn't look good anymore, he said. Didn't suit what I wear now. The lie was almost elegant. But it didn't land. Scarlett's panic only deepened. No. No, I don't care what you wear, you look good in anything. That tattoo mattered. It was ours. She gripped his wrist again. There's a tattoo shop nearby. Let's go. Right now. We can redo it, exactly the same. But before he could respond, her phone rang. Asher. She didn't even have to check. His name flashed on the screen like a spotlight in the dark. She answered in a half-whisper. Tomorrow's the wedding, Asher said, laughing nervously. I'm freaking out. What if I mess it up? Scarlett's entire body stiffened. She turned away from Noah, hand covering the receiver, mumbling something he couldn't hear, and ended the call. She was still holding Noah's hand, trying to drag him toward the tattoo shop, insisting they could re-ink what had been erased. But just then, an announcement echoed through the airport terminal. Final boarding call. She froze. Time had run out. Scarlett squeezed his hand one last time, urgent and hopeful. Go board first. When you get back, we'll go do it together. I promise. Noah didn't nod. He didn't refuse either. He simply gave her a gentle wave and walked toward the gate, suitcase in hand. She left the airport seconds later, satisfied, believing she still had time. She didn't see him turn around. Didn't see him exit through arrivals. Didn't see him hail a cab. Didn't see him rip the ticket in half, calmly, as though he were severing a thread that no longer served to bind. That evening, in a quiet hotel suite, Noah checked in. Once the room door clicked shut behind him, he sent a single message. "Here's the address I'll be staying at tomorrow." He sent it to Sloane. The next morning, wedding day. Just as Noah stepped out of the shower, phone in hand and towel slung low, Scarlett called. Her voice was sugary, light. "Did you land in Hawaii yet? How's the view?" He glanced at the mirror as he pulled on a crisp white shirt. "Just got here." "It's beautiful." Scarlett paused. She could hear the rustle of fabric, heavy, layered, not beachwear. Something didn't sound right. "What are you doing?" she asked, her tone shifting slightly. But just then, someone on her end called out. "Scarlett. It's time to head to the venue." Startled, she panicked and quickly hung up, then sent a hasty text. "Sorry. Accidentally ended the call. You have fun there. I'll come pick you up once everything's over." Noah stared at the message. Then typed simply. "Don't worry. Do what you need to do." She smiled when she read it. She thought she still had him. She didn't. The next time Scarlett's name came up, Noah's phone was turned off. By then, he was already dressed. Not in swim trunks. Not in vacation linen. In a tailored suit, charcoal gray, silk tie, cufflinks that caught the morning sun. Outside the hotel, a long line of luxury cars waited. At the front, a white Rolls-Royce gleamed. Sloane stood beside it, elegant and unreachable in a gown that shimmered like snowfall. Her expression was cool, unreadable, but her eyes sparkled with quiet triumph. When she saw Noah step outside, her lips curved slightly. "Mr. Whitmore," she said, voice dry and teasing, "I've come to marry you." Noah flushed. But he held her gaze, took her hand without hesitation, and smiled. "Then for the rest of our days, let's take care of each other." They got in the car. The convoy moved forward. Halfway through the procession, another wedding caravan approached from the opposite direction. As if on cue, both columns slowed to a halt, luxury bumpers aligned like soldiers on either side of a battlefield. Then, like some strange ritual, the front two cars rolled down their windows. Scarlett sat in the opposite car, in full bridal regalia. Their eyes met. She froze. And Noah, seated beside another bride, his bride, didn't flinch. There was no anger. No bitterness. Only a calm, unshakable finality. In that silent exchange between car windows, Scarlett understood what he had taken from her. Not vengeance. But closure. "What, how is it you?" Scarlett's eyes went wide, pupils constricting as if they'd been struck by lightning. Her voice trembled, breath catching in disbelief. "Stop the car." She nearly screamed it. But across the narrow divide between limousines, Sloane's cool gaze flicked to her chauffeur, and gave a subtle nod. Their car surged forward. Scarlett's own driver, confused by the command but too late to process, simply stepped on the gas and continued on. And just like that, without looking back, two wedding processions headed in opposite directions, fading from each other's view. Scarlett sat frozen in her seat, still staring at the receding glimpse of Noah. "Asher? Scarlett?" Asher called her name more than once before she finally blinked and turned toward him. "What?" she mumbled, as if surfacing from underwater. He looked at her warily. "Are you okay? You zoned out for a second." Scarlett shook her head, trying to brush it off. I just thought I saw someone." She hesitated. I think I saw Noah." Asher stiffened. Then quickly curved his lips into a smile, though the corners trembled faintly. "Scarlett, come on. That's not possible. Noah's in Hawaii, remember? You saw him off yourself. She stared out the window, mind replaying the moment. But it looked exactly like him. Asher gently touched her hand, trying to sound casual. You probably just saw someone who resembled him. That groom didn't look that much like Noah. Must have been the angle. You're exhausted. He gave her a sheepish smile, lifting the pale pink bouquet in his lap. Too bad, though. Would have been fun to share double the wedding joy. Scarlett tried to smile back. She really did. Maybe she had imagined it. Maybe she was just overwhelmed from all the planning, all the secrets, all the guilt. It had to be her mind playing tricks. After all, she'd been the one who sent Noah off at the airport. She watched him walk in. There's no way he could have turned back. Right? She swallowed her rising unease and squeezed Asher's hand in return. I'm already lucky enough with you and your bouquet. One blessing is enough. Asher beamed. You sure? She nodded. I'm sure. But the lie tasted bitter in her mouth. As the wedding convoy pulled closer to the ceremony site, a thick unease coiled in Scarlett's chest. Her heart thudded violently. Every bump in the road felt like a warning bell. A voice in the back of her mind kept screaming. Go back. Check. Just once. Make sure it wasn't him. But Scarlett forced herself to stay seated. Noah loves me. He'd never marry someone else. It was just my imagination. I'm too stressed. I'm seeing ghosts. She repeated the lie until it was memorized. Outside the window, rose petals rained down like confetti. The air smelled of perfume, champagne, and carefully curated happiness. The venue loomed up ahead, grand, expensive, filled with the entire elite of their social circle. Almost none of them knew the man Scarlett was marrying today, wasn't even her boyfriend. In a cascade of cheers, applause, and camera shutters, Scarlett walked arm in arm with Asher down the aisle. He held the heavy folds of her gown with a kind of reverence, step by careful step, leading her toward the altar. But with every step forward, an invisible weight pulled at her. It didn't feel like joy. It didn't feel like the fairy tale she had told herself this would be. She glanced sideways at Asher, so bright, so sweet, smiling like a boy who had just won the lottery. But something didn't sit right. It wasn't supposed to be Asher beside her. Somewhere, deep down, she knew, the man standing there should have been Noah. The thought struck her like cold water. She froze mid-step. A few guests stirred in confusion, some whispering behind raised hands. Asher leaned closer, whispering, Scarlett? You okay? She blinked, disoriented, and gave a mechanical nod. Yeah. I'm fine. Her feet started moving again, but her thoughts didn't. This isn't real, her mind screamed. It's a dream. A fantasy I spun for myself and Asher. She told herself that once the ceremony was over, once the champagne was poured and the guests had gone, she'd fly straight to Hawaii. She'd find Noah. She'd act like nothing had changed. But the truth wouldn't stay quiet. Because something had changed. And no matter how tightly she clung to the illusion, reality had already started to shift beneath her feet. Across the city, across a different aisle, under a different sky, another couple stood before a priest. The same question rang out. Do you, in the presence of these witnesses, take this person beside you to be your lawfully wedded spouse? Will you love, honor, and stand by them through wealth and poverty, health and illness, triumph and loss, for as long as you both shall live? Sloane turned her head slightly, eyes locked on Noah's. There was no hesitation. No second-guessing. Together, with perfect clarity, they answered in unison. I do. But back in Scarlett's world, only one voice answered with conviction. I do. Asher's voice trembled slightly with excitement. His cheeks flushed as he looked at her, so hopeful, so ready to believe in this day. But Scarlett stood still. Her lips parted. Then closed. Then parted again. She couldn't speak. She couldn't lie. Somehow, somewhere in that ornate cathedral, Noah's image floated behind her eyes. And in the blur of emotion and pressure, Asher's face blurred, too, just for a moment, merging with Noah's. "I do." The words came out soft. Mechanical. Asher's smile faltered, but only slightly. He recovered quickly, wrapping his arms around her as cameras flashed and applause rang out. "I'm so happy, Scarlett," he whispered in her ear. "I can't believe I get to call you mine." He held her close, his voice tender, almost trembling. "This is the best day of my life." Scarlett leaned into his embrace. But her heart was still somewhere else entirely. Scarlett couldn't meet his eyes. She offered only a soft, evasive hum in response, barely audible over the murmur of the crowd. "Now," the officiant smiled warmly, "you may kiss the bride." A chorus of bridesmaids erupted from the front row. "Kiss! Kiss! Kiss!" The room rang with playful whistles and laughter. Scarlett closed her eyes, lashes trembling like leaves in the wind. But there was no joy in her expression. Wasn't this what she wanted? The perfect wedding. A man who adored her. A stage set with glittering lights and 100 people smiling her way. She should have leaned in. She should have kissed him. But instead, Noah's face, cool, steady, and full of quiet heartbreak, rose up again in her mind. The question clawed its way back to the surface. Was that really not him in the wedding car? Her eyes flew open. She scanned the crowd, frantic, searching, for something. Someone. Sloane. She wasn't here. Again. For weeks, Sloane had been distant. Always busy. Always smiling with a secret tucked into the curve of her lips. Not the kind of smile Scarlett had ever seen on her before. And suddenly, irrationally, maybe, Scarlett saw the threads connect. Noah's phone that night. The voice from the speaker. It sounded like Sloane. Before she could spiral any deeper, Asher's voice cracked the moment. "Do you love me?" he asked, his voice trembling as tears shimmered in his eyes. "Everyone's watching." His vulnerability stung. It was real. Scarlett took a breath. She rose slightly on tiptoe. She let him lean in. His lips were barely a whisper away, warm breath brushing her skin. And then, she turned her head. The kiss missed. He didn't even feel the brush of her lips. All he felt was distance. He didn't know it yet, but Scarlett had already begun to leave. The guests didn't notice. They cheered anyway, clapping and tossing petals. But the more joyful the room became, the more her face turned pale. The priest began to move to the next stage, ready to declare them husband and wife. But Scarlett's voice cut clean through the sanctuary. "The wedding is over." A stunned silence fell like a curtain. Then murmurs. Whispers. Shock. She didn't wait. She turned and walked out, veil trailing behind her like smoke. She had to know. She had to be sure. Gasps rippled through the pews. "Wait, what just happened? Is it over?" She didn't even say anything to him. She left him at the altar, at the altar. Wasn't this supposed to be the love of her life? Didn't Monroe throw millions at this wedding? God, the poor guy. Look at him, he didn't even see it coming. The voices swirled around Asher like cold wind. He stood frozen, the weight of the moment crashing down. Scarlett's dress had barely disappeared from view, but the humiliation lingered. The guests stared. The whispers pierced deeper than any shout. And all Asher could do was stand there, alone under the flower arch, holding nothing but a crumpled bouquet and the ashes of a dream. He didn't chase her. Not because he didn't want to, but because his dignity was all he had left to hold on to. Scarlett. Her name tore through the air, first from Asher, then from the bridesmaids, then from nearly every row of guests. But she didn't turn back. Not even once. Her steps faltered for a heartbeat. And then she kept going. The collective silence that followed was deafening. Like a string quartet cut short mid-symphony. Everyone knew, the dream had shattered. Right here. Right now. Asher collapsed to his knees on the aisle, his hands falling uselessly to his lap. Tears streamed down his cheeks, soaking through the silk of his suit. No one rushed to comfort him. No one moved at all. They were still processing what they just witnessed, the perfect bride walking away, and the groom left crumpled on the ground like a forgotten vow. But Scarlett felt none of it. Her heart pounded against her ribs as she stumbled toward her car, vision blurring, breath shallow. There was only one name echoing in her head, like a lifeline, like a threat. Noah. If she didn't find him now. If she didn't see for herself. She would regret it for the rest of her life. Even if it meant she was wrong. Even if it meant she had mistaken someone else for him. It was still better than losing him forever. A wedding could be rescheduled. But a person, once lost, might never return. She gripped the wheel with trembling hands and pressed call. Pull up the list of all weddings happening at Crestwood today, she snapped at her assistant. Anything close in scale to ours. Who's getting married, where, and with who? I need it now. Her voice was hoarse, on the verge of cracking. The assistant didn't dare ask questions, just muttered a rushed, "Yes, ma'am," and began dialing in a swarm of staff and data analysts. Meanwhile, Scarlett was already racing down the road. Eyes scanning every villa, every floral arch, every passing Rolls-Royce. Time blurred. She didn't know how long she'd been driving, minutes. Hours? And just when despair started curling its fingers around her throat. Her phone rang. Miss Monroe, the assistant's voice trembled. She slammed the speaker on. Say it. There's only one match, he said. The Harrington family. Sloane Harrington is getting married today, at South City Villa. And the groom. He hesitated. But Scarlett already knew. He didn't have to say it. She knew. She didn't even answer. The phone slipped from her fingers, clattering against the dash. The tires squealed as she slammed on the brakes. There, just past the high hedges and marble gate of South City Villa. Noah was walking out. Hand in hand with Sloane. The image punched the breath from her lungs. Scarlett's entire body went still. No. 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 Her fists clenched so hard they shook. Noah. His name ripped from her throat like a sob she hadn't meant to release. It wasn't just heartbreak. It was betrayal. It was war. Her best friend. Her boyfriend. Her future. They had stolen it from her, together. You dare. Her voice was low, ragged, dangerous. Her eyes were wild, rimmed in red. Her lipstick smeared. Her wedding gown wrinkled, abandoned in the back seat like a broken promise. She stepped out of the car, slammed the door so hard the frame shuddered. Then she walked. Each step heavy. Unstable. Painful. She prayed, pleaded, that what she saw was an illusion. That maybe her vision was blurring. That maybe she had finally lost it, and this was all just some twisted dream. But the image didn't waver. Noah stood there. In a wedding suit. Next to Sloane. Smiling. And the world around her fell completely, mercilessly silent. Scarlett stopped when she was just a few feet away from them. Her fists were clenched so tightly her knuckles had gone white, her nails cutting into her own skin. For a second, it looked like she might throw a punch, right there, in her wedding dress, in front of God and everyone. And frankly, Noah thought so too. She'd done it before. Many times. And this felt exactly like one of those moments. He instinctively stepped in front of Sloane, shielding her with his body. His voice came out like frostbite. Cold. Sharp. Unmistakably final. "What are you doing here?" The words hit her harder than a slap. That tone. That look in his eyes. Like she was a stranger. Like she didn't matter. Scarlett let out a short, broken laugh. But her eyes, they were ice. Frozen, furious ice. "Shouldn't I be the one asking you that?" she said, voice low, trembling. "You were supposed to be in Hawaii. Why the hell are you here? Why the hell are you?" Her gaze shifted to Sloane's dress, her fingers tightening into claws, married to her. Her voice cracked, then exploded. "I'm your girlfriend. Did I die and no one told me?" She grabbed his shoulders, practically screaming into his face, shaking him like maybe, somehow, that would wake him from whatever delusion this was. But Sloane didn't flinch. Instead, she reached out, her fingers smooth, deliberate, and peeled Scarlett's hands off Noah, one by one. Her engagement ring sparkled with each movement, like it was mocking her. "You're a little late," she said, coolly. "I'm his wife now. And you? You're nothing." Then she wrapped her arms possessively around Noah's, resting her head lightly against his shoulder. And stared Scarlett down with the confidence of a woman who'd already won. Scarlett's entire body stiffened. She was shaking. Not from fear. But from betrayal. Her best friend. Her boyfriend. Both had stabbed her in the back. A wave of pain slammed through her chest like a wrecking ball. Her knees nearly buckled. This is a joke, right?" she whispered. "You're messing with me. A fake wedding. Just to scare me. Right?" She turned to Noah, desperate now, eyes wide and glistening. "You found out something, didn't you? Something I did? I'm sorry, okay? It was my fault, I know that. But don't punish me like this. Not like this. I can't. I can't take it." And just like that, the proud Scarlett Monroe, the woman who never bowed to anyone, begged. Her voice cracked. Her head bowed. Her dignity shattered. But Noah didn't even blink. "Stop lying to yourself," he said. "We're over. I married Sloane. You were there. You saw it." "No," her voice was hollow now, like she was falling into some black hole. "No, you're lying. You love me. You always have." She stumbled forward, arms reaching out in some last-ditch attempt to pull him back. But then... slap. Sloane's hand landed across her face, the sound echoing like gunfire in the courtyard. Scarlett froze. Her cheek burned. Her ears rang. "Are you done?" Sloane asked, deadpan. "Because I'd like to get back to my wedding now." She flashed a cruel little smile. "Oh, and congratulations on your wedding too, Scarlett. That little dream you had? I let it happen. I let you walk down that aisle. I let you think you had a choice. So tell me, why are you crying now?" She tilted her head. Shouldn't Asher be the one crying? Every word was a dagger, sharpened with perfect aim. "Our wedding was perfect, by the way. How was yours? And Scarlett?" Scarlett had no answer. Because the truth was written all over her swollen eyes, her bruised pride, her collapsed world. The woman who thought she had it all now had nothing. Scarlett froze in place. For a moment, she didn't even know what kind of expression to wear. You knew?" Her voice was barely a whisper, like the words themselves were too ashamed to come out. And the instant she said it, a tidal wave of panic swallowed her whole. Everything she'd hidden. Everything she thought she'd disguised so well. All of it shattered in an instant. It had all been a lie. Not to him. But to herself. He had known. From the beginning. The image of her walking down the aisle with Asher, the invitations, the dress, the ceremony. He'd known. Then why didn't he stop me? That was the question that crushed her. Had he already given up on her? Scarlett didn't dare follow that thought to its end. Noah looked at her. 2 tears were already sliding down her face, silent and hot with regret. He didn't flinch. He didn't soften. He just laughed. Cold. Empty. "Yeah. I knew," he said. "From the moment you told me you were marrying Asher. I knew you were done with me. I knew you didn't love me anymore." He took a step back, like the space between them was poison. "So I let go. I let you go. I let you have your fairy tale. Isn't today your big day? Where is Asher, anyway?" His eyes darted around theatrically. "Why don't you go find him and make it official? Hell, go file for a marriage license right now. Let's make your little fake wedding a real one. You don't need to pretend to be loyal to me anymore. I don't want you." That last line landed like a gunshot. Scarlett felt like her lungs collapsed. Like her whole chest folded in on itself. His eyes were empty. Colder than she'd ever seen them. No anger. No love. Just indifference. It was the indifference that broke her. "No, you're wrong," she said, voice cracking with desperation. "This isn't what you think it is. I still love you. I never wanted to marry Asher. That was just punishment. I just wanted to scare you. You're jealous, right? You hate him, I know you do. Then I won't talk to him ever again. If you want to get married, let's go right now, okay? Let's go apply for our license, like today never happened. Let's just go back." She reached for his hand. Like she could pull him back in time with her. But before Noah could even react, Sloane stepped in. Her hand came down hard on Scarlett's wrist, yanking it away without hesitation. "I already told you," she said calmly. "I'm his wife now. You need to let go." She stepped in front of Noah, placing herself squarely between them. Her posture was sharp. Unshakable. "He doesn't belong to you anymore." Then she tilted her chin, gesturing behind Scarlett. "Besides, your husband's right over there." Scarlett turned, almost involuntarily. And there he was. Asher. Still in his tux. Still holding the once beautiful bouquet now limp and smudged with dirt. His eyes were red and raw. Tears streamed down his cheeks, no longer in control of his own breathing. He looked like a child who just lost everything. And in a way, he had. Scarlett blinked. And in that split second, the entire fantasy, hers, his, all of it, collapsed. Asher stood there for a long while, his throat bobbing with swallowed sobs. Finally, he choked out. "Wasn't today supposed to be our wedding day? Why'd you leave me there, all alone?" His voice cracked. His face, usually so gentle, was blotched red from crying, innocent and pitiful like a child left behind. Sloane sighed audibly, her brows pulling together in clear irritation. God, how she hated this, his tears, the drama, the emotional neediness. She didn't even try to hide it. Instead, she tilted her head, eyes flicking back toward Noah beside her. Only then did her expression ease. Just a little. Noah, meanwhile, looked positively entertained, like he was watching a particularly juicy scene unfold in someone else's soap opera. No pity. No guilt. Just detached amusement. Scarlett, seeing Asher so broken, felt a flicker of guilt. A pang, nothing more. But the second she met Noah's eyes, that cold, unbothered glint, she snapped back into herself. "The wedding's over," she said, her tone going flat. "That little punishment game we started? It's done. We both lost. Now it's time we went back to where we belong." Asher blinked like she'd just slapped him. Stunned. Wounded. He couldn't believe it. After everything, she's just walking away? Like it meant nothing? Scarlett turned back to Noah, voice softening, almost desperate as she tried to reach him. "Noah, we can get divorced. People do it all the time. Let's just cancel the license, okay?" "No." The voice didn't come from Noah. It came from Sloane. She didn't even look at Scarlett when she said it, just flicked her a disinterested glance, her voice lazy and sharp like a blade. "What do you think he is, some kind of toy you can throw away and snatch back whenever you want?" Scarlett's fury exploded. "Sloane, this has nothing to do with you," she snapped. "You don't get to talk about me and Noah. We've been together for years. You can't just walk in and steal him." Her voice trembled, escalating with every word. "You don't even love him. Why'd you marry him? I'm the one who should be with him, I'm the one who's supposed to be his wife." She was shouting now, on the edge of madness. Then came the breaking point. Without warning, Scarlett lunged forward and threw a punch. Straight at Sloane. "No." Noah moved on instinct, stepping forward to intervene. A flash of panic flared across his face. Memories came back in a rush, all the people Scarlett had driven away, the chaos, the rage, the obsession. He'd seen what she could do. He feared for Sloane. But he shouldn't have. Because in the very next moment. Smack. Sloane caught Scarlett's punch, clean, bare-handed, and shoved back with equal force. The two women collided like a storm breaking loose. Noah flinched at the sound of fists landing against flesh, hard, bone-deep hits that echoed with fury. You could practically feel it in your teeth. But he didn't jump in. Instead, he stepped back. Farther. Out of the way. Like he wanted no part of it. He watched. Measured. And when he saw Sloane wasn't losing, that she wasn't the one who needed defending, he let it play out. No need to get involved. He'd been bruised enough times to know better. Asher's eyes were red with fury. He turned on Noah, glaring at him like he'd just witnessed a murder. "Scarlett's getting beat up and you're just standing there," he yelled. "She's hurt, and you don't even care? What kind of heartless bastard are you?" Noah barely blinked. He shot Asher a look so cold it could have frozen fire. "If you care so much, go stop them yourself," he said, bored. Then added, with a touch of venom. "Just a heads up though, it's your sister throwing the punches. So, who you planning to save?" Asher froze. 1 second. 2. Then clenched his jaw, and ran in. "Scarlett," he shouted, flinging himself between them. "If he won't protect you, I will." He turned to face Sloane, puffing up with pathetic bravery. "Hit me instead. Just stop hitting her." He closed his eyes and threw his arms out wide like a sacrificial lamb. But neither of the women was in a state to care. Sloane and Scarlett were too far gone, blinded by rage, fists already mid-swing. And the next moment. Wham! Both punches landed. Direct. Brutal. One from the left, one from the right. Asher's body buckled from the impact. Pain exploded through his chest, like his organs had rearranged themselves in protest. "Ow," it really hurts." His voice was a pitiful croak. Blood trickled from the corner of his lips. Sloane didn't flinch. No sympathy. No hesitation. She grabbed a fistful of his shirt collar, lifted him like garbage, and dumped him unceremoniously on the curb. Chapter 15. Scarlett barely glanced at Asher's crumpled form on the ground. One look, no more. Then. Thwack. Sloane's next punch landed right in Scarlett's ribs, knocking the air from her lungs. She gasped, sucking in cold breath between her teeth. Still, she didn't stop. Didn't blink. Asher groaned from the pavement, coughing weakly. Scarlett didn't even turn. "You're in pain? Call a damn ambulance. I'm not your nurse." Sloane delivered a sharp kick to Scarlett's knee. "What now?" she sneered. "Crying to the ER already? Admit it, you know you can't beat me." Scarlett staggered, eyes blazing. "Never. Noah belongs to me. He always will." And just like that, they launched at each other again. It was less a fight now, more a desperate tangle of limbs. They were slowing down, every blow duller, every breath heavier. Bruised. Bloodied. Exhausted. Only then did Noah finally speak into his phone. A few minutes later, 3 ambulances rolled in with sirens wailing. Medics rushed in. All 3 of them, Scarlett, Sloane, and Asher, were loaded onto stretchers. Noah didn't say a word. But when the time came, he walked straight toward the ambulance where Sloane lay. Got in. Never looked back. Scarlett, strapped to her gurney, watched him disappear. And her heart, finally, shattered. Not just pain. Not just betrayal. Loss. For the first time, she knew. She'd really, truly lost him. The agony spread like fire across her body, up her spine, into her chest. Her fingers went numb. Her eyes rolled back. And just before the world went dark, she whispered the last thought that crossed her mind. "He's really gone." Then. Black. When Scarlett finally opened her eyes, the room was empty. No voices. No footsteps. No Noah. A bitter chill sank into her chest. She remembered a different time, when she'd been the one lying in a hospital bed, bruised and aching. Back then, Noah had refused to leave her side, not even for a second. He'd hovered like a storm cloud, eyes dark with worry as he changed her bandages, every touch so careful it nearly broke her. "Scarlett, what were you thinking?" he'd scolded softly, shaking his head. "Why would you fight them like that?" She'd forced a grin, even as the pain pulled at her ribs. "It didn't hurt. Not really. I just couldn't stand anyone else touching you. You're mine. Anyone who tries to take you, deserves what's coming." Noah had let out a helpless laugh, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Then don't do it again, okay? I'm already yours. Always have been. I don't even see anyone else. What are you so afraid of?" What was I afraid of? The answer was simple now. Losing him. Scarlett gave a hollow smile. And then, tears. They came without warning, slipping down her cheeks, hot and silent. Her injuries weren't nearly as bad as those from the past. But the pain? Unbearable. It wasn't her body that ached, it was everything else. The old wounds. The regrets. The realization. She'd really lost him. Just then, the door creaked open. A pale arm entered her line of vision. Her breath caught. Noah? For a second, her heart leapt. But it plummeted just as quickly when the rest of the figure stepped inside. It wasn't Noah. It was Asher. The disappointment hit like a cold wave. "Oh," she said flatly. "It's you." Asher's smile faltered. He blinked, then quickly masked the crack with a look of concern. "Are you still in pain?" he asked, stepping closer. "I'm fine. You're the one who got hurt, remember? Go rest. I have nurses, I don't need you looking after me." She turned her face away, avoiding his touch as he reached for her hand. Was it kindness? Or just the simple truth? She didn't want him because he wasn't Noah. Asher bit down on his lip, hard. The pain helped him steady his voice. He slowly leaned into her, resting his head against her shoulder. "I just wanted to be near you. I couldn't sleep until I knew you were okay." Then, after a long pause, his voice dropped. "Noah married Sloane. What are you going to do now? After everything you two had, how could he throw it all away? He's moved on, Scarlett. Can't you do the same? Can't you, just once, look at me?" He reached for her hand and gently pressed it to his chest, right over his heart. "I'm not him, I know. But I'm not nothing either. You feel this, don't you? I've always been here. Always loved you. I don't want to be your little brother anymore. I want that wedding to be real." His eyes searched hers, desperate and pleading. But all he got back was an apology in her gaze. "I'm sorry," Scarlett said quietly. "I won't deny that I once had feelings for you. But that's over now. I can't be with you. I won't. I'll always belong to Noah. He's the only man I've ever truly loved. The only husband I'll ever have. That wedding, let's just pretend it never happened. You're still young. You'll meet someone else." "No!" Asher shouted, throwing his arms around her waist, clinging like a drowning man to driftwood. "I'll never meet anyone who makes my heart race like you do." His voice trembled with desperation, but his eyes, dark and resolved, revealed something deeper. A decision had already been made. "If you really want to win him back, then use me," he said. "You and Noah were together for years. He couldn't have let go completely. Let me be your pawn. If you're good to me, he'll get jealous. And when he does, I'll explain that we're just friends, nothing more. I swear." Before he could finish, Scarlett shoved him away so hard he nearly lost his footing. "I'm done playing games. I'm done leading anyone on. I won't let Noah misunderstand again. Whatever this was between us, it ends now." Her voice was cold, her face expressionless. She didn't even flinch as the boy before her cried like a child, his tears streaking down his face. Instead, she turned to the window, gazing silently at the city skyline in the distance, allowing Asher's sobs to fill the sterile hospital room. She knew Noah too well. Once he made up his mind about something, it was final. And he'd made up his mind about her. He'd chosen to stop loving her. Which meant there would be no coming back. Jealousy? If he were going to get jealous, wouldn't he have done it by now? She let out a bitter laugh. How naive she'd been. She thought she could get away with one mistake. One night of recklessness. She thought Noah would never find out. Or if he did, he'd forgive her. She'd been so sure of her place in his heart. But reality had slapped her in the face, hard. All this time, the one who couldn't let go, the one who clung on desperately, was her. She'd been the one who begged for that love from the very beginning. How could she forget that? Scarlett buried her face in her hands, unwilling to face the truth any longer. Her chest felt like it might cave in from the pressure. After a long silence, she finally spoke, her voice barely more than a whisper. "You should go. And don't come back. Whatever we had, whatever you thought this was. You're just my friend's younger brother. Nothing more." The words hit Asher like a death sentence. His breath hitched. His eyes widened in disbelief. And then, his voice cracked under the weight of his desperation. No, no. This can't be real. You do love me. I know you do. You said you were tired of Noah. Wasn't I enough to make you feel something again? I can change, Scarlett. I'll be whatever you want, whoever you need. Just don't throw me away like this. She didn't answer. No anger. No sadness. Just still, chilling indifference. He begged until his voice went raw, until his throat burned and his eyes ran dry. Only then did she call out. Security. 2 bodyguards appeared almost instantly. Take him home, she said flatly. And don't let him come back without my permission. Yes, ma'am. The guards flanked Asher from both sides, ignoring his protests and dragging him toward the exit. As they forced him down the hallway, he twisted in their grasp and cried out one last time. Scarlett. Please. But no matter how loud he screamed, no matter how desperate his cries became, she never looked back. And he couldn't stop the inevitable. He was gone. The room finally fell silent. Scarlett sat motionless, letting the stillness wrap around her like a cold blanket. For the first time in hours, maybe days, she could hear her own thoughts. Chaotic. Clashing. Relentless. But one truth rang louder than the rest. She loved Noah. She couldn't just let go. Married or not, Noah belonged to her. He had always belonged to her. This whole thing with Sloane? It was a mistake. A moment of confusion. A rash decision. He didn't love her. Not really. Scarlett clung to that belief with the same desperation as a woman reaching for a ledge. If I just show him I'm sorry, if I just fight for us, he'll come back. He has to. That thought alone was enough to keep her breathing. Ding. Her phone vibrated softly on the nightstand. Without thinking, Scarlett picked it up and typed in Noah's birthday. His birthdate had always been her go-to passcode. But the screen didn't unlock. She blinked. Then it hit her. Some time ago, Asher had curled up beside her and whined, playfully begging her to change her passcode to his birthday. She had laughed, rolled her eyes, and let him do it. Now that decision mocked her. Mocked how easily she'd let someone else into a space that had always been reserved for Noah. Her fingertips recoiled like they'd touched fire. In a quiet panic, she changed the passcode back to the one it always should have been. Noah's birthday. As if that one act could rewind time. As if that could take her back to the beginning. She opened Instagram. At the top of her messages sat a new notification, from Sloane. Scarlett hesitated, then tapped it. The first photo loaded slowly. Noah, asleep at the edge of a hospital bed, face nestled against the mattress. There were faint shadows under his eyes, but he didn't look tired, just peaceful. Calm. The next image stole her breath. They were in bed. Together. He was holding her. Sloane's head rested against his chest. Their fingers laced, their bodies curled into one another like they'd belonged there forever. Swipe. Another photo. Noah gently applying ointment to her bruises. Swipe. Feeding her soup with a quiet smile. Swipe. Sitting side by side at a laptop, discussing something over coffee, like they were partners in both love and life. Each frame was an arrow. Every image, a wound. Scarlett's grip on her phone tightened. Her knuckles turned white, as if she could crush the device and erase what she'd seen. But her hand slipped, and she accidentally tapped Sloane's profile. Right at the top, a wedding photo. Noah in a tuxedo. Sloane in a white gown, glowing. The caption was just 2 words. It's you. The comments were already pouring in. Congrats. Can't believe you're the first of us to get married. Wishing you a lifetime of love. So this is why you disappeared these past few weeks, girl. Can't wait to meet the lucky guy. Sloane and Noah. You two are perfect together. Scarlett kept scrolling. Endless hearts. Endless well wishes. Each one a nail in the coffin of what she believed was still possible. Just 1 minute earlier, she thought bitterly. If I had arrived just one damn minute earlier, I could have stopped that wedding. I could have been the one beside him. Rage boiled up from somewhere deep. Without thinking, without caring, she slammed her thumbs across the screen, typing. Noah doesn't love you. Even if you're married, he'll always come back to me. She hit post. It took only seconds. Her phone lit up again, and again, and again. Dozens of notifications. Hundreds of messages. DMs, comments. Reposts. Her words had gone off like a grenade. One by one, the messages poured in. Questions. Doubts. Probes from friends who once knew her better than anyone. Wait, did you post that by mistake? I thought Noah was your boyfriend. How is he suddenly married to Sloane? You're joking, right? Sloane's husband can't possibly be your Noah? Every message landed like a slap. Each question wasn't just a poke, it was a dagger. A slow, precise dissection of her pride. Scarlett stared blankly at her screen. She didn't reply to a single one. The fire in her chest roared louder. And then. Crack. Her phone slammed against the wall with a sickening thud, splintering on impact. The screen went black, lifeless. Panting from the sudden outburst, Scarlett stood frozen, until it hit her. The photos. Her heart seized. All the memories with Noah, smiles, quiet moments, his sleepy eyes, his whispered promises, they were all in that phone. Gone? No, 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 she gasped, scrambling across the floor. She picked up the cracked device with trembling hands, desperately jabbing the power button. Nothing. Come on, the pictures. I need the pictures. She whispered it like a prayer, over and over, a plea to no one. Pain flared across her torso, her wounds reopening from the violent motion. Dark crimson seeped through the hospital gown, but she didn't even flinch. Nothing hurt as much as the idea of losing those pieces of him. She rang for help. A guard fetched a backup phone. She ordered the broken one to be rushed to data recovery, immediately. I only care about one thing, she barked, gripping her assistant's sleeve. Her voice shook from the strain. You must recover every single file. Every photo. Every message. I want everything back. The assistant nodded frantically. Yes, I promise. I'll handle it. That night, sleep wouldn't come. The bed felt too big. Too cold. Too empty. Without Noah beside her, she felt like she was drowning in silence. Eventually, she couldn't take it anymore. Drawn by something she couldn't control, Scarlett slipped into the hallway, her steps barely making a sound. She found herself outside Sloane's VIP hospital suite. Through the narrow glass window in the door, she saw them. On the oversized bed, two figures lay side by side. Sloane was awake, gazing down at Noah with an expression so soft, so warm, Scarlett felt something twist inside her. She had never seen anyone look at Noah that way. Not even herself. And Noah. His arms were around her. His brow relaxed. His lips barely parted in sleep. He looked peaceful. Scarlett's breath caught. Her hands balled into fists. Sloane looked up, and saw her. Their eyes met. Sloane didn't blink. Instead, she leaned forward and pressed a gentle kiss to Noah's forehead. Her gaze was calm. But the message in her eyes was razor-sharp. He's mine now. No photo could have ever prepared Scarlett for the pain of seeing it in real time. She didn't even know how long she stood there, frozen. A nurse eventually passed by and gasped. "Oh my God, miss, your gown, your bandages are soaked. You're bleeding. What room are you from? Let me take you back. You need your wounds cleaned and redressed." Scarlett mumbled a room number, her voice barely audible. She followed the nurse like a ghost, numb. She knew Sloane had done it on purpose. The open curtain, the unlocked door, the casual affection. Every move was calculated. To make her give up. To break her. But if Sloane thought that would work, she was dead wrong. Scarlett might be cracked and bleeding, but she wasn't broken. Not yet. The next morning. A knock came at the door. "Miss Monroe," the guard said from outside, "Mr. Whitmore just stepped out to get breakfast. He's on his way back to the VIP ward." The moment Scarlett heard "Whitmore," she sprang into motion. She rushed to the mirror, smoothed her hair, pinched some color into her cheeks, straightened her gown. She had just enough time to compose herself before the footsteps echoed down the hall. And then, Noah passed her door. She didn't hesitate. In one swift motion, she yanked the door open, grabbed his wrist, and pulled him inside. The door slammed shut. The lock clicked. She pushed him back against it. "Noah," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Please don't be so cruel to me. I'm hurting too. Can't you pity me, even a little?" Her voice was soft, fractured, like a porcelain cup on the verge of breaking. She leaned in close, her breath brushing against his ear. "I'm sorry. Everything was my fault. Yell at me, hit me, punish me however you want, just don't leave me. Please, Noah. I'm begging you." As if to prove her point, she grabbed his hand and tried to slam it against her own body. But her strength faltered, intentionally or not, the slap never landed. Instead, his fingers tugged at the loose fabric of her hospital gown, pulling it down just slightly to expose her skin. It didn't look like punishment. It looked like seduction. Her chin rested in the crook of his neck. He could feel her heartbeat, fast and shallow. Their bodies too close, too tangled. This isn't right, he thought. Just as that realization hit, he felt something wet. Tears. Scarlett's silent tears slipped down her cheeks, dampening the hollow of his throat. His body shivered. But not out of sympathy. Noah didn't feel sorry. He felt disgusted. And maybe a little amused. "Can't control yourself," he said quietly, pulling away. "Go beg Asher, then. Don't come to me for this kind of attention, I'm not interested." His voice was cold. Dry ice cold. "In fact, I find it disgusting." Scarlett flinched. "And if this is your idea of an apology," he added with a bitter smile, "then what we had was more pathetic than I thought." He peeled her hands off his chest and stepped back, putting distance between them. His gaze was razor-sharp. Detached. Unforgiving. "I'm married now. I'm not going to forgive you. You and Asher seem like a perfect match anyway. Aren't you happier with him? I saw the way you were with him, like I was never even needed." His voice cracked like a whip, and Scarlett stood there, stunned. "You don't need me," he said, hand on the doorknob. "And I sure as hell don't need you. So why not just end it here?" With that, Noah turned his back on her and reached for the door. But Scarlett grabbed his hand before he could turn the knob. And this time, she didn't beg. She pressed his palm against her chest, pushed her body into his, and went in for a kiss. "Noah, please. I swear, I really love you," she murmured, her lips trembling inches from his. "I don't care about Asher anymore. I'm done with him. There's nothing between us, not now, not ever again. Just give me one more chance." I'll prove it to you. I promise I will. Smack. The slap came without warning. Hard. Precise. Brutal. Noah's hand cracked across her face, sharp and fast, like she'd taught him once, back when they were still entangled in the kind of intimacy that involved more power than passion. And then, without hesitating, he drove his foot into her side, directly where the wound was still healing. I don't want you anymore. His voice was flat. Final. Ah, Scarlett gasped, the pain tearing through her, but she gritted her teeth and refused to cry out. She barely had time to catch her breath before he opened the door. And in the very next instant, he pulled Sloane into his arms. The woman had been waiting just outside, clearly worried. She clutched his shirt and looked him over quickly. Are you okay? She asked, her voice tight with concern. He nodded. Yeah. Let's go. She didn't press him with more questions, but before turning, she cast Scarlett a long, lingering glance, her eyes narrowing slightly. That look said everything. You still don't get it? You've already lost. And if marriage wasn't enough to make Scarlett give up, then Sloane would simply escalate. Scarlett staggered after them, but a doctor happened to be walking by and stopped her. Miss, you really shouldn't be moving like that. Your wound's reopened. Come, let's get you treated. She had no strength left to argue. All she could do was slump back onto the bed, staring at the doorway where Noah had disappeared. He hadn't even looked back. Over the next few days, Scarlett remained in the hospital, watching Noah and Sloane's love story unfold just outside her reach. They were everywhere, walking the halls together, whispering at each other's bedsides, eating lunch in the sunlit courtyard. Somehow, she always missed him by seconds. A nurse would push her wheelchair into the elevator just as Noah was stepping out. Someone would bump into her in the hallway, aggravating her injuries and forcing her to turn back. Schedules changed. Meetings got postponed. Every time she tried to approach him, the universe conspired to stop her. But she knew better. It wasn't fate. It was Sloane. Scarlett swallowed her rage and waited. Patiently. Until the day she was discharged. She called her assistant and had dozens, hundreds, of roses flown in. Noah's favorite. They were arranged outside the entrance to the Crestwood Grand Theater, a sea of red that painted the morning in color and scent. Passers-by stopped in their tracks. Who's she waiting for? Someone whispered. Who's the lucky guy? God, if someone did that for me, I'd marry him on the spot. Scarlett heard them. And for the first time in days, a faint smile tugged at her lips. He used to love these, she thought. Whenever I pissed him off, roses like this always worked. Surely, they still would. She waited. And waited. Inside the theater, the curtain had already closed. The ballet troupe was filtering out the stage doors one by one. Dancers in warm-up gear, stagehands still wearing headsets, all drifting into the evening air. She scanned each face, heart pounding. Waiting for one man. Only him. A tall figure stepped out of the theater. Scarlett moved instinctively, her heartbeat spiking. Noah. Clutching the roses to her chest, she rushed forward, eyes shining with hope, until she stopped cold. Asher? Her voice cracked, confused. The glow in her eyes dimmed in an instant. Delight soured into something darker, revulsion. Disgust. Disbelief. What the hell are you wearing? Why are you dressed like him? Asher froze mid-step. He offered her a soft smile, but even that was laced with bitterness. You mistook me for him, didn't you? He said quietly. Doesn't that mean I did a good job? I can be him, Scarlett. I can love you like he does, or better. Just give me a chance. Let go of him, please. His hand snaked around her shoulder, creeping toward her jaw, inching her face toward his as he leaned in for a kiss. But in that split second, something behind him caught her eye. Noah. Cool, distant, untouchable. He was walking toward them, Sloane by his side. Scarlett jolted back to her senses just in time. At the very last moment, she shoved Asher hard. He stumbled and fell to the ground, hard. "You're not him," she snapped. "You don't even come close. You can copy his clothes, his hair, whatever, but you're not him. I only want him." Asher lay crumpled on the pavement, his face pale as chalk. The wig had fallen off, lying like a dead animal at his feet. He looked like a fraud exposed, Cinderella without the glass slipper, stripped of the illusion. Scarlett didn't even glance at him. Her eyes were fixed on one man. "Noah," she called, barely above a whisper. But he didn't even spare her a look. Without slowing, he walked past her like she didn't exist, and took Sloane's hand. "Were you waiting long?" he asked gently. Sloane shook her head, her smile glowing with a calm, radiant certainty. "Not at all. For you? I'd wait forever." And then, subtly, she slid her fingers between his, lacing them together. A silent, possessive gesture. Scarlett's face fell. She didn't hesitate. Leaving Asher on the ground, she marched toward Noah, dragging the heavy bouquet behind her like a symbol of her desperation. "I came here to apologize," she said breathlessly. These are your favorite roses." I remembered. "I remember everything you love. I was wrong. I don't love Asher, I never did. Look at me. Look at what I've done for you." Noah didn't answer. He didn't need to. Sloane stepped in before he could say a word. "No one," she said clearly, voice firm, "no one mistakes the person they love. Not like that. If you really loved Noah, how could you confuse him with someone like Asher? He doesn't walk like Noah. Doesn't move like him. Doesn't even breathe like him. You saw a costume, not a person. You fell for the illusion. And that says everything." Scarlett's face drained of color. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. She wanted to deny it. She wanted to scream, "That's not true." But the truth was written all over her face. She had mistaken him. And now, running the moment over in her head again and again, she realized how wrong she'd been. Asher hadn't captured Noah's presence at all. His imitation was hollow. Awkward. All surface, no soul. And she'd fallen for it. Even for a second, that was enough. Guilt rose in Scarlett's throat like bile. She couldn't meet Noah's gaze, not with the shame curling tight in her chest. She was bracing herself for disappointment in his eyes, for a flash of betrayal or even anger. But none of that came. Noah wasn't looking at her at all. He'd turned slightly, his attention completely on the woman at his side. His voice came low, curious. "How do you know me so well?" His heart, to his own surprise, skipped a beat. Sloane gave a soft laugh, effortlessly calm. "Secret," she whispered. "I'll tell you when we're home." Then, her eyes locked on his, warm, steady, full of something unreadable. "I know you more than you think. Much more." That line hit him harder than he expected. It stirred something. A deep, itching curiosity took root, scratching at the walls of his memory. When had they crossed paths? Why did she feel so familiar? Noah's mind rifled through flashes of the past, but nothing made sense. And Scarlett saw it. She saw that flicker in his eyes, interest, confusion, wonder. And she panicked. Because curiosity was dangerous. Curiosity was the first crack before a fall. And falling was love. She couldn't let that happen. "Noah, don't listen to her," Scarlett blurted, voice just a little too sharp. "We've been together for 7 years. 7 years. No one knows you like I do. I messed up earlier, yeah, but it was just a moment, okay? I hadn't seen you in a long time. Her words tumbled out in a rush, defensive and desperate. Then she turned to Sloane, eyes narrowing. What about you? You barely know him. You pieced him together from second-hand stories between friends, and now you're playing the expert? She took a step forward, grasping for control. Was this your plan all along? You and Asher? Did you research him just to impress him? Her words echoed, and for the first time, a flicker of doubt crept into Noah's expression. Sloane's gaze slid past Scarlett, landing briefly on Asher with the distaste one might reserve for a smear on a shoe. Asher and I? Everyone knows we can't stand each other. She spoke with a cool disdain, brushing the accusation away like lint on silk. Then her voice softened as she turned toward Noah again, her tone impossibly tender. And as for why I know you, maybe if it hadn't been for her, you and I would have been together already. She paused, let the implication hang in the air. I wasn't going to talk about our story, she added, eyes flicking back to Scarlett with a look that was all challenge and contempt, because I didn't want to make you jealous. A delicate shrug. A small, deliberate smirk. But now? I've changed my mind. Then, turning her face toward Noah again, her expression melted into a warmth so gentle it burned. My mother and Noah's mom were best friends, Sloane said calmly, her eyes never leaving Scarlett. They arranged our engagement when we were still children. Noah, do you still have your half of the emerald? At her words, Noah's hand instinctively lifted to his chest, fingers brushing the familiar weight beneath his shirt. That jagged, imperfect emerald, he'd worn it for as long as he could remember. Scarlett had asked him about it dozens of times. It's chipped, she used to say. Why keep something broken? He'd always give the same answer, it belonged to my parents. I have to keep it safe. He never questioned it. Never thought there might be more to it. But now, a strange twist of realization stirred in his gut. Sloane reached into her coat and pulled out a delicate chain, revealing the other half of the very same emerald. A perfect match. When you used to visit my house as a kid, you were obsessed with this gem, she said, smiling faintly at the memory. My father had it made when I was born, it was special. I couldn't let you take it, but you threw such a fit I finally gave you half, just to shut you up. She gave a soft laugh, wistful. It broke when I dropped it, trying to pull it from your hands. She took a step closer, lifting her half toward his. I kept mine all these years. Just like you did. Her voice dropped to a murmur, thick with meaning. Noah, we've known each other far longer than you realize. Then, without hesitation, she leaned in and nuzzled against his hair, the movement so intimate it stilled the air around them. Noah froze. Then, slowly, childhood images surfaced, fuzzy at first, then sharper with every breath. A little girl brushing dirt from his scraped knee. Small hands feeding him watermelon in summer sun. A voice, her voice, laughing, teasing, promising to be best friends forever. You remember now, don't you? Her voice was so sure. And he had no answer. Because yes, he did remember. He remembered everything. A boyish promise, when I grow up, I'll marry you. And now that ridiculous childhood vow had somehow, impossibly, become real. A smile tugged at the corner of his lips, unbidden. Sloane saw it, and smiled back. But behind them, Scarlett was unraveling. She stood frozen, face drained of color, lips bitten so hard they'd begun to bleed. This was a part of Noah's life she had no place in. A chapter written before she ever appeared in his story. And yet, Sloane knew everything, even things from their 7 years together. She'd seen it all, somehow. Scarlett's hand curled into a fist and slammed into the car beside her. Rose petals fluttered to the ground like snow. Even the bouquet looked faded now. Lifeless. Noah, she choked out, desperate. But he didn't turn. Didn't blink. Didn't even flinch. She wasn't sure what broke her more, that he didn't look back. Or that it had become this hard just to make him see her. Behind her, Asher stood frozen in the drizzle, just as broken. Why? Why did she never see him? What did Noah have that he didn't? Why was it always Noah, first Sloane, now Scarlett? The ache in his chest twisted into something darker as he watched Noah walk away, hand in hand with the woman both of them once loved. Asher's gaze burned with something raw. Something close to hate. He stepped forward, catching Scarlett in a trembling embrace, his voice cracking. Can't you see me? He doesn't love you. I'm the one who truly does, me. Can't that be enough? But Scarlett pushed him away, calm and cold. You shouldn't love me, Asher. You really shouldn't. Her voice was distant, final. I'll introduce you to someone else. A girl who'll love you back. Just, let me go. His arms fell to his sides, empty. All he could do was watch her walk away, again. Always walking toward Noah. Always chasing someone who never turned back. But Scarlett never made it past the gates. The private neighborhood was locked down tight, security guards standing firm. Sorry, Miss Monroe, one of them said with an apologetic shrug. Miss Harrington's orders. We can't let you through. No hesitation. No room for plea. Scarlett stood in the rain, dripping, breath shallow. She had no umbrella. No car. Just wet clothes clinging to her skin and a cold knot tightening in her chest. So she walked, alone. By the time she reached her apartment, her limbs were numb, and the ache in her head had blossomed into something feverish. The rooms felt cavernous. Still. Lifeless. Her body burned with heat. She couldn't tell where the fever ended and the heartache began. The world blurred around her. And then, Noah's silhouette appeared in the hallway. Noah. She reached for him, breath catching in her throat, only to blink and find nothing. Empty space. A cruel mirage. She sat up with a jolt, panting. Noah wasn't there. Of course he wasn't. She staggered through the apartment, dizzy and frantic, throwing open drawers, tearing through closets, searching for anything, that still carried his presence. Nothing. No photos. No shirts. Even the journals she'd once written, those sappy little love letters filled with youthful promises, gone. It hit her then. That night, the box Noah had tossed out, he hadn't just thrown away clothes. He'd thrown away everything. Their memories. Their story. Their beginning and end. And she hadn't even noticed. Hadn't bothered to look. If she'd just stopped him. If she'd opened that box. If she'd done anything differently. Maybe she wouldn't be here. In this place. In this fevered, crumbling solitude. A sob clawed its way up her throat. The fever scorched her from the inside out. And her heart, her stupid, stubborn, bleeding heart, splintered under the weight of what she'd lost. Half-conscious, Scarlett fumbled for her phone. Her fingers, burning with fever, shakily dialed a number she could recite in her sleep. Noah. The call connected. Her voice, barely a whisper, slipped through the line like fog. Noah. I'm sick. Could you come see me? For a moment, he didn't move. Didn't even register the words. Because in that exact moment, Sloane was kissing him. Fiercely. Claiming him with heat and hunger. Her lips pressed against his, breathless and urgent, her hands already unbuttoning his shirt with practiced ease. Clothes hit the floor. Soft thuds. But on Scarlett's end, every sound echoed like thunder. She knew those sounds. Intimately. She didn't need to see. She didn't need to ask. She could hear everything. And it crushed her. With a strangled gasp, she hung up. The sour taste of jealousy and despair clawed at her throat, leaving her breathless. Noah, you're mine. How could you, with her? She wanted to scream. Wanted to rip the world in half and pull him back to her. But she couldn't. Because now, they were married. Legally. Publicly. And she was no one. The blood drained from her face. Her hand trembled. Her vision flickered black, then collapsed altogether. The phone slipped from her grasp. Her body followed. She had no idea how much time passed. But when Scarlett finally opened her eyes again, her fever had broken, and so had something in her. Her phone lay beside her on the sheets, buzzing non-stop. Hundreds of missed calls. She didn't bother checking who they were from. She swiped them away in a daze. But the texts. They kept coming. Line after line. All the same. Congratulations to Miss Monroe and Mr. Quinn. Wishing you a lifetime of happiness. Such a beautiful couple. So happy for you both. What? Scarlett stared at the screen, eyes narrowing. Her chest tightened. What were they talking about? Her phone rang again. Her mother. She answered this time. Grace's voice burst through, furious and panicked. Scarlett. What the hell is going on? Wasn't Noah your boyfriend? Why are people saying you married Asher? Her mind went blank. Grace didn't stop. That lunatic showed up at our house, said he'd applied for a marriage certificate with you. The news is everywhere. The videos, photos, he's posted everything online. You kissing him, hugging him, he's calling it a proposal and now everyone thinks it's real. Scarlett's breath caught. No. She scrambled to open Noah's social feed, hands shaking. If this was true. If Asher had really. Her heart dropped like a stone. Photos and videos flooded the internet, flawlessly edited, beautifully curated, paired with soft focus filters and romantic soundtracks. And the captions? They told a love story for the ages. Scarlett and Asher, soulmates, bound by fate, finally together. The public ate it up. What hit her hardest wasn't the posts themselves. It was who was reposting them. Her friends. Her closest girls. It's true. They're in love. So happy for Scarlett and Asher. They've always been meant to be. Scarlett felt like the walls were closing in. There wasn't a single trace of joy in her heart. Just disbelief. Rage. Confusion. What the hell was happening? She couldn't make sense of it. Pressing a hand to her temple, she snapped out a quick excuse to Grace, I'll take care of it. Give me a second. Then hung up before her mother could speak again. She didn't hesitate. She called Asher. Her voice was ice. Asher. What are you doing? I told you, that kiss was a punishment. A dare. A goddamn joke. How could you take it seriously? Delete. Everything. Now. Every post, every photo, every word. I want it all gone, and I want you to issue an apology. There was a pause. Then Asher's voice came through, low and trembling. But Scarlett, we're perfect together. Why not just make it real? The ceremony's already happened. The world thinks we're a couple. Your mom even gave her blessing. I love you. I'll always love you. Forget Noah. Let's start fresh. We'll get married, have a beautiful baby, grow old together, just the two of us. He kept talking. But Scarlett had already stopped listening. Because none of it mattered. That kind of future, she had only ever pictured it with one person. And it wasn't Asher. "No," she said flatly. "If you won't delete it, I will." She hung up without another word. Her head was pounding. Everything was spiraling out of control. Without wasting another second, she called her assistant. "Take down everything related to me. Now. Wipe every article, every headline. And get all of Asher's content removed from the platform. I don't want a single post about me left online." It gave her a sliver of relief. But just a sliver. Because now, she didn't even know how to explain any of this to Noah. After several failed attempts, she finally sent the only thing she could bring herself to type. "I'm not with Asher. I will never marry him." No response. The silence was louder than any scream. Eventually, she gave up and tossed her phone aside. But Grace wasn't finished. Message after message lit up her screen, demanding she come home. Now. When Scarlett finally returned to the family estate, the last thing she expected was the sight that greeted her at the door. Asher. Kneeling on the floor. Eyes bloodshot. Hands shaking. And the second he saw her, his whole face lit up like a child seeing sunlight after a storm. "Scarlett is pregnant with my child. The entire circle already knows we held a wedding ceremony. All that's left is to make it official." Asher's voice cracked with emotion, though his words were perfectly rehearsed. "What, are you going to let our child be born without a name? Without a family? Just another bastard like me?" He glanced at Grace, letting his words sink like poison. "Do you know how heartbreaking that would be for the child?" Grace's face twisted with fury. She loathed him, always had. Asher, the illegitimate son. A man with no pedigree, no status. Despised by the Harrington heiress Sloane. Unfit to marry into the Monroe family. Just like his mother. Always scheming, never knowing her place. But now, if Scarlett was really pregnant. For the first time, Grace was speechless. Across the room, Scarlett stood as still as stone, her gaze bottomless, her presence suffocating. When she finally spoke, her voice was a slow, dangerous burn. "You say I'm pregnant with your child?" She laughed once, hollow. "That's funny. Because I don't remember ever sleeping with you." She stepped forward, grabbed Asher by the collar, and spat the next words into his face. "What did you do, impregnate me with air? You must be a fucking magician." Her nails dug into his neck, and still, Asher looked at her with worship in his eyes. "Scarlett, please. Don't be like this. I know we shouldn't have kept the baby, but it's too late now. What's done is done. Noah's already married to Sloane. I'm not trying to win you back. I just want to protect our child." Tears spilled down his face, his voice trembling like a lost child's. No one in the room seemed moved by his theatrics. Not one. Then, just like that, the tears stopped. Asher blinked them away and straightened his spine, turning toward Grace with a newfound calm. "She's right," he said quietly. "Scarlett's right. Nothing happened between us. There is no baby. I was lying. I'll leave." He didn't raise his voice on the final word, he simply mouthed it, soundlessly. But Grace read his lips perfectly. Something inside her snapped. "Enough," she roared. "Asher, you're not going anywhere. We'll get to the bottom of this, right here, right now." She turned to the staff. "Take him to the lounge. And call the private doctor, Scarlett's getting a full exam." Then she looked at her daughter with bitter disappointment in her eyes. "What did we do to raise a girl like you? It was bad enough when you broke Noah's heart. But now? You don't even care about your own child. You don't want the baby. You don't want Asher. So tell me, why the hell did you betray us in the first place?" Grace's voice cracked with exhaustion as she pointed at her daughter's face. A deep sigh followed. Then another. The private physician arrived shortly after, carrying a case of medical tools. Scarlett said nothing. She sat still as stone while they examined her. The verdict? She was pregnant. That's impossible. Scarlett's voice shook with disbelief. I know my own body better than anyone. This is a setup. She turned on Grace, eyes blazing. Asher must have bribed the doctors. I never slept with him. I'm going to get this tested by someone I trust. But Grace had had enough. She snapped her fingers, and the house staff moved to block Scarlett's path. That's enough out of you. Grace barked. You've embarrassed this family enough. Tomorrow you'll marry Asher, and that's final. She turned to the staff again, voice like steel. If she refuses, drag her there. I don't care how you do it. Over my dead body. Scarlett shoved the servants away and bolted toward the door. Behind her, her father Carl shouted. Go after her. I don't care if she has to be chained to the altar, this wedding is happening. Asher wiped a few fake tears from his cheeks, but his eyes were anything but sad. They burned with obsession. Scarlett, you left me no choice. You forced my hand. Scarlett didn't stop running until she reached her car. The moment she was in the driver's seat, she dialed her assistant. Pull all surveillance footage from my recent whereabouts. I want every angle, every second. And I want it now. Within the hour, the files began to pour in. And that's when she saw it. It was from the yacht party. A camera mounted on the upper deck had caught something no one was supposed to see. Asher. Shoving Noah into the ocean. Scarlett froze. The look on Asher's face, twisted, unhinged, was exactly the same expression he wore earlier today in her mother's parlor. Then came the next gut punch. The footage showed her running to the railing, and choosing to dive in after Asher. Not Noah. Noah had looked up at her with such helplessness, such disbelief. That expression burned into her soul. Why didn't I save him first? Why didn't I see who Asher really was? That sweet, obedient little boy had been a mask. Beneath it was something dark. Something cruel. If Noah hadn't survived that night. She couldn't bear to finish the thought. More videos played. Clips of her and Asher. Smiling. Laughing. Holding hands. Through Noah's eyes, it must have looked like betrayal. Now she understood. Now she felt it. The same agony Sloane had inflicted on her. Watching the one you love fall for someone else. Helpless. Powerless. The pain was like a knife in the lungs, sharp, and impossible to breathe through. She kept watching for hours, eyes burning, unwilling to miss a single detail. Until finally, in one clip, the truth revealed itself. There had been no intimacy. No evidence of physical contact. No proof that anything had ever happened between her and Asher. Her instincts had been right all along. Scarlett felt a wave of relief. But it didn't last long. She immediately called her assistant and ordered a full background investigation on Asher. As the files came in, photos, receipts, hidden surveillance. The full picture started to emerge. Asher hadn't just provoked Noah. He had also spent the last few weeks quietly bribing hospitals and doctors across the city. Even the 2 doctors from yesterday. Paid off. It had been almost seamless. If Scarlett hadn't spotted the irregular transaction patterns in Asher's bank records, she never would have found it. Just then, her phone buzzed. A voice memo from Sloane, with a single message. Handle Asher. Scarlett played the audio. It was Asher's voice, cold, calculating, giving his staff instructions on how to bribe the physicians. Her expression turned to stone. She replied instantly. What, you don't think I'm capable? The response came back a moment later. It's not that. I just don't want Asher hurting Noah again. Then came the dagger. The night he fell into the water, he was saved by my people. If not for you, he would have been fine. Scarlett's heart stopped for a beat. Sloane wasn't one to exaggerate. If she said it, it was the truth. Scarlett closed her eyes. Every breath felt like glass. It had been her. Her mistakes. Her blind spots. Every wound Noah carried, she'd caused them. Maybe if she'd never been part of his life, he would have been happy all along. She cried without making a sound. And when she opened her eyes again, there was nothing left in them. Just emptiness. The next morning, Scarlett got dressed in silence. No makeup. No jewelry. Just a clean black coat, and a plan. Outside the city hall, Asher stood in a crisp white shirt, practically glowing with anticipation. You came, he beamed, hurrying toward her. Scarlett's gaze was cool, unreadable. Her lips curled slightly, not in affection, but in calculation. Yes. I came. Then let's go get married. He reached for her arm, pulling at her sleeve with boyish eagerness. But then, his smile froze. Just over Scarlett's shoulder, two uniformed officers stepped into view. Scarlett's voice dropped, low, detached, final. No. I'm not marrying you. But you should start thinking about how you're going to plead. She yanked her arm free, pushed him backward. Right into the hands of the waiting police. Just when everyone thought it was finally over. Asher snapped. Eyes bloodshot, he let out a guttural scream and lunged forward, dragging Scarlett with him. Straight into the oncoming traffic. A blaring horn. A deafening crash. Bang. Two bodies were launched into the air like broken dolls, blood spraying in arcs, splattering the pavement. The thud of their impact was sickening. Screams erupted. People rushed over. Officers called for ambulances, their voices tight with panic. In the wreckage, Asher clung to Scarlett, blood gurgling from his mouth. And still. He smiled. Scarlett, he whispered, barely audible. We're finally together. Forever. You're mine, only mine. I was always going to marry you. You're insane. Scarlett spat, shoving his blood-slicked body off hers, the pain nearly unbearable. The ambulance came. They both survived. Barely. Scarlett's legs were crushed, she'd never walk again. Asher slipped into a coma, officially declared in a vegetative state. The day Scarlett was discharged. She looked nothing like the girl who had once stood in designer heels and commanding confidence. Now she sat in a wheelchair, her eyes blank, staring at something far away, far gone. Then, two figures appeared across the hospital courtyard. Noah. He was glowing. A look of stunned joy on his face, his hands awkwardly reaching toward the woman beside him. Sloane gently took his hands and placed them on her belly. If you're going to touch it, do it properly. Your kid deserves some attention. Scarlett froze. For a second, the world disappeared. She hadn't expected this. Hadn't prepared for it. And right before Noah's gaze shifted her way, she turned her chair. Wheeled herself down another path. Let it be. Don't ruin his peace. She didn't deserve to see him. Not anymore.